What's the status of them getting back to us on, we asked them for some things,
Um,
and gave them a specified amount of time?
Yeah, I've corresponded with Mr. Luckmer, I think 3 times, asking him when they'd be ready. He said that they are trying to get their documents together, that they can't do certain things because they're still in the audit process. Actually, if I'm not we sent another email that was crafted that basically told them that what they were doing or what was requested by the board didn't really have anything to do with the audit because it dealt with a whole host of things from land utilization to other types of items. And he has not responded back to that email. So we don't have another date set because I told them that the board wanted to see that information prior to the meeting.
How much time do we have on this? If they're not providing us information in a timely manner, do we have to approve this?
I mean,
right
it's
now?
probably been almost 90 days since I sent a follow-up letter from the public work session that we had.
Maybe we should hold off on this, approving this.
That's completely fine. I can let them know at the end of this meeting that until that occurs, that this is gonna be held off. Sorry.
That works for me.
Okay.
Building inspection services, so,
Yeah, this is the one, we came before you relative to outside county agencies that our building and zoning department was helping, and we terminated all of the contracts that are there. We are not re-upping the one for Hillsborough, but specifically for Clinton County. This was reviewed by Bruce. I think Bruce added some different language relative to insurance. We'll probably have another one down the pike that'll come from Wilmington, but this will allow us to go over there, and it gives us 85% of the fees that come in, and it has a floor that we will receive no less than $100,000 if those fees don't get to
Yeah.
that point.
and so that sufficiently covers our costs. I see Ray
Yeah, Susan Ray
shaking
and
his
Mike.
head.
Yeah, Susan Ray and Michael worked on what would be the minimum threshold, and that's at $100,000.
Okay.
So they brought that back forward.
Yeah, if we have the capacity to do it, I certainly don't mind doing it, but I don't want our taxpayers subsidizing other counties' services, so I don't, is there a motion on that?
Yeah, so
And yes,
The next one is for a contract with emergency services. This was requested by a lot of the chiefs in the area. It'll be for hazmat training for first responders. There'll be 30 or so folks that'll be allowed to come into the class. It's going to be, I talked to actually ask Melissa a little bit, it's for on-seat size up to better understand sort of chemicals and things with their PPE. So it's a training for first responders that our emergency services will coordinate with the chiefs in the area.
that's fine.
and yes,
Number 4 is that there's a contract, to initiate contract negotiations with Valley Transport.
this was the one, they were a new provider for our transportation services, correct?
They provide transportation services for our local transit, yes, that Josh and his team work with. This is, they went out for quotes relative for, specifically for Arlene and James.
For human services.
For human services, and.
So, but my question is, so we're satisfied on the transportation side with the service that they're providing, so we don't have any outstanding issues with them that we would then approve a different, expand their role in the county.
Not that I've been aware, I mean, there's obviously clientele issues every once in a while that Josh will have to address, but we had the same thing when it came to UTS. But as far as service that's in a grander scale, I've not heard anything that's come back.
Okay.
And I have a letter of recommendation from James and Arlene.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I just, I knew it was a new service provider for us, relatively new. They've probably been around a year and a half or 2 years, and I just wanted to make sure before we expand their scope into other areas that we were satisfied with their service.
Someone?
And yes?
Okay, the next one is for allow the transfers of TANF funding from OMJ in Claremont to OMJ Warren County. So sort of like it was discussed, I think when James Ryan was in front of you, relative to.
Yeah, we don't have to discuss that one, that's fine.
Okay, alrighty.
It's already been discussed. So moved.
And yes?
Number 6 is to initiate contract negotiations with Vital Care Health. This is for medical services in the jail. They had a panel of folks in the jail and there were 9 proposals, and this was the top proposal.
So moved.
And yes?
Number 7 is that when the million-gallon land intake was being repainted, they just found some additional items, some interior damage and some safety lines, ladders that needed to be replaced. So this is a change order for that to occur.
So moved.
And yes?
This is number 8. The next one is to authorize Water and Sewer Department to partner up with the engineer's office on some improvements of the Columbia Road. And this just allows them, and then they'll be refunded back through that project.
So moved.
And yes?
There is a pump that is defective at the booster station in Socialville Foster, so this is a emergency purchase order to replace that.
So moved.
And yes?
We have a change order decrease, number 2 decrease for Shook Construction for the Richard Reniker wastewater treatment plant for the ion exchange. So just some valve changes and some modifications. This is a PO reduction.
So moved.
And yes?
The next one is a change order number 2 with Milcon Concrete for a water main replacement. When we were replacing a water main that had issues, there was a concrete pad that was disturbed, and so this is the change order to replace that concrete pad.
So moved.
And yes?
There's a notice for development to award them the bid for the South Code water main replacement project. So this is a capital project that has been in the works, and this is the winning bidder.
So moved.
And yes?
And there is a OPCW State Capital Improvement Grant for the South Cove roadway improvement and water line replacement. So this is a OPCWC led by the engineer's office, but down in Deerfield Township.
And so moved.
And yes?
I think I got them all there.
Great. Okay, now it is after 9:05 on June 16th, 2026, and the board is scheduled for an administrative hearing on the application of Union Village Special District 3A, Chase Bank PUD Stage 2 preliminary site plan in Turtle Creek Township. For the record, would the board's clerk please read into the record what documents have been filed in this matter and how and when notice of this hearing was given?
So the application and preliminary site plan were filed with Regional Planning Commission. The legal notice was posted on the Warren County Commissioner website and Warren County Legal Notices Facebook page on May 29th, 2026. And additionally, the legal notices were mailed to property owners within 500 feet on May 29th of 2026.
Great. So at this time, I'd ask that any person who thinks they might testify in this matter to stand if you are able and raise your right hand, and I'll administer the oath to all of you. Don't everybody jump up at once. Okay, do you solemnly swear and affirm under oath to tell the truth? If so, answer I do. Great, thank you. Go ahead, you may proceed.
Good morning. So here before us we have the Union Village PUD Special District 3A for a Chase Bank within one of the outlots. So I'll go through the general information here. So the applicant is Lebanon Land Associates, surveyor engineers Minnick Smith Group. Site address is 3715 State Route 63. Parcel size here is 1.69 acres, but the Special District 3A size is 8.77. The current zoning on the property is planned unit development. So looking at the process here, we're here for an amendment to an already existing PUD Stage 2 for Special District 3A to allow the development of a bank. Here's a vicinity map showing the location of the site. So as mentioned, it's on the south side of State Route 63 and on the east of 741. Then moving in a little bit closer, the parcel in question here today is the one at the east there. So here's a look at the proposal. It is a 3,333 square foot financial institution. Looking at parking, based on the zoning code, they are allowed up to 15 parking spaces. The applicant is proposing 28, so that's an amendment that they would like to request today, is to have 28 parking spaces. They also included a parking analysis based on other locations and similar square footage. So their reasoning for this request for additional parking aligns with some of their other bank locations. There's going to be a drive-up ATM on the south end of the site. And then regarding access and circulation, they'll be connecting to an existing private drive to the south. They'll have 25-foot travel lanes and an ATM exit along the south end.
We just did this a few months ago, right?
What's that?
Didn't we just approve this? Not this, I know they're asking for an amendment, but didn't we just do it earlier this year?
There was a Wawa that was approved on the west side, which is a part of this
Yeah, next to it, that it's,
Yes.
if they're like border. Okay,
Yep.
now I'm oriented, thank you.
Regarding buffers and landscaping, so this is their proposed landscaping plan. They are meeting the requirement of having 13 trees along the frontage of the property, for 1 per 40 feet. They're also including a streetscape buffer along the street there, which requires some ground coverage, which they are providing. Here are some exhibits of the proposed building. We did receive comments from Turtle Creek Township. They wanted confirmation of the location of fire hydrants. They also wanted to make it clear that if there was any overhead elements, they would ask that there would be no obstructions for those. They also indicated that they wanted additional landscaping, which they have since updated their plans to comply with the zoning code. They also wanted to recommend that the street that connects all these, the private access drive, be built to public road standard. That was just a consideration that the township wanted, but that has not been done. Butler County wanted them to show since they were servicing it with sewer, they wanted them to have some comments here on where the sewer mains were, so they've since complied with that. So with that, we are recommending approval, subject to the following conditions. I'll just go through a few of these here. Number 1 through 4 were standard conditions based on the Wawa. Number 5 through 9 are also the same conditions from when Wawa came in. And number 11 is the only one that had changed, and this was a condition that was recommended by the executive committee, but we have since received comments from ODOT, so I'm going to later on show you a condition that we would like you to consider based on their comments. So that condition that was recommended was prior to stage 3 approval for lot 6, which is this lot. The developer shall submit a developer's agreement accepted by ODOT, and that agreement shall address the timing and responsibility and scope of improvements for the conversion of the full access, which is access number 2, to a right in and right out. And then number 13 also stayed the same. So since the RPC recommended that, we have received these comments from ODOT. ODOT will not require a development agreement for the proposed Chase Bank, since they will be using the current approved access for Wawa. The conditions below listed in the development agreement for the proposed Kroger development. So just to give some context on what all this means, so access number 2 is the one there in the middle highlighted with the red arrow. We've seen the long-term roadway improvement plans for this, and it's going to be converted to a right in and right out. with the installation of access number 3 being signalized. So that was the reason for this condition on who would be responsible for making the right-in and right-out improvements. But since then, as mentioned, we would have an amendment that we would like to have you consider. So again, so access number 2 right now is proposed as a full access with curb and gutter, later converted to a right-in and right-out. And here's a look at what those, or what the full access would be. There would be a turn lane onto the access number 2, which would be required to be installed by the applicant, as well as a left turn lane to that access number 2. So this is a look of the full build out, the improvements, the one showing the access number 2 being converted to a right-in and right-out, which would include a raised island and median to prohibit left-hand turn movements along State Route 63. So it would be eliminating the westbound left turn lane at access number 2, restriping at the entrance, and again installing that raised island along State Route 63. So based on all that information, so we wanted you guys to consider an alternate to the condition number 11 that the RPC Executive Committee recommended. An implementation of access point number 2 into a right-in and right-out. Number A would be upon the implementation of a signalized access point at access number 3, further PUD stage 2 amendments or additional site plan reviews are not permitted for lots within Special District 3A. Prior to the conversion of the full access being turned into a right-in and right-out. And then B, prior to further PUD Stage 2 amendments or site plan reviews within the Special District 3A, the developer shall identify the timing and responsibility of scope of improvements of converting full access number 2 into a right-in and right-out. We believe that A clarifies on if that furthermost access number 3 is to be signalized, on who would be responsible, but obviously that's making that determination that will go in. B is giving options that if the development to the north doesn't happen right away, they would still be able to move forward, but they still have to identify who is responsible at a later time of converting that into a right-in and right-out. And then in regards to other conditions, so we do have lot-specific conditions, number 1, 2, and 3, so compliance with the Butler County Water and Sewer Department. Number 2, we didn't have the building elevations at the time of review at Executive Committee, so we're having a maximum building height of 25 feet since they provided us with elevations since then, and we're also wanting to hold them to it with number 3, where building materials and design to be as illustrated in Exhibit B in the staff report. So with that, I can answer any questions.
And so has this, I guess it was prompted by ODOT, has that been discussed with the applicant, and is the applicant?
Yes, the applicant was
'Cause
accepting.
they're not here, right?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, they were notified, but they were not accepting of 11B because they thought that would further prohibit any development of the site. But we wanted to make sure that, since we've seen what the traffic impact study improvements would be, we want to ensure that it's determined on who's going to be responsible for doing that, whether that's them or a different entity. We just want that to be made sure that way when the development does get fully built out, they're to the plans that have been submitted.
So, they are aware that you are submitting this
Yes.
amendment?
Correct.
And they've opted not to be here today?
Correct.
Okay. Dave, do you have any, Commissioner, any question? Great, thank you. So the applicant is not here. Is there anybody that wishes to testify as a proponent to this amendment? Okay, is there anybody who wishes to testify to an opponent to the preliminary site plan? applicant's not here, so there's nothing else to say, unless does the township have anything else to add here? Okay. So, seeing that there's nobody here to oppose it, I
Do we
will.
need to close the hearing?
Yes.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to deliberate in private, otherwise we can deliberate in public.
I am fine deliberating in public.
I am too. So I can either entertain a motion and a second to adopt the resolution to approve the PUD Stage 2 preliminary site plan, approve it with specific conditions, or deny it.
I'll make a motion to approve the Union Village Special District 3A PUD Stage 2 for Chase Bank in Turtle Creek Township with conditions listed by staff.
Okay, and that includes the amendment to that 11A and B. Okay,
That
and
is my
second.
motion.
I'll second that. A roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Next, we need to adopt the written decision relative to the Royce-Lowe CTC OBO Tag Towers LLC site plan in Turtle Creek Township. So there is a resolution that we will not be reading. It's many, many pages, but I will ask the clerk to read it by title.
So I have a resolution approving with conditions of approval the site plan review application identified as zoning department case number 101-2025 of Royce-Lowe CTC OBO Tag Towers LLC for 1105 Nixon Camp Road, parcel number 13-10-226-003, consisting of 11.46 acres in Turtle Creek Township, Warren County, Ohio.
Is there a motion?
There's a motion.
And second? And roll call.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes. Although I think I feel compelled to say something on this.
Okay.
That for the residents that came in and did a very admirable job of opposing this, there's nothing in this application that made me feel good. I think it was handled very poorly by the company that went and solicited this property, and I'm actually upset with Verizon with the way this came down. The board was honestly bent over backwards trying to find an alternative to tell them they couldn't go there, that just didn't make sense to go there. Even the compelling argument of why it had to go was all very light, in my opinion. So we bent over backwards trying to get them to change. And sometimes we've actually gone against our prosecutors' legal advice. And in this case, the argument was so clear and the law is so clear, including the Federal Telecommunications Act, that we have to follow, that it's literally a check the box decision, that if we would have turned this down, they would have marched across the street into court, and potentially we would have been found that we were incorrect in our ruling, and potentially cost associated with that to the taxpayers. So that's the only reason we approved this. But for the record, I didn't like anything about this.
And we will be posting this online and sharing it for those who have requested it. So before I entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting and get into our work session, there is somebody here who wishes to address the board, so I wanted to give them the opportunity to do that. Good morning. Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
It is Ryan Griffin, and my address is 8185 Winding Trail Place, Mason, Ohio.
Thank you.
So I was just asking, I've never been to a commissioner's meeting or anything like that, so excuse me. I was just asking why Warren County decided not to adopt any of the expanded homestead exemptions. I know that it is optional to exempt. You can do one of two things. You can accept both the owner occupancy credit and the homestead exemption, or you can adopt them separately. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. My tax bill just went up. I literally just moved into my house last year, and I was fire, and then got a reassessment on my taxes. The amount that my homestead exemption got was literally the amount, like almost to the dollar, the exact amount that my taxes went up. So I was just wondering if you guys could say why you guys haven't it, because I know it can be done specifically for, like, you guys can choose who gets it and stuff like that. So it would be seniors who meet certain standards, and then only 100% permanently and totally disabled veterans are the ones that qualify for that.
So we had a,
Well, I think we should probably, he made a couple of statements. I think our auditors here, who actually understands this better than anybody in the state, is everything that was just said accurate?
Well, I want to make was what I was going to lead with is that I think pretty much everybody in the state is getting rid of it because last week the state doubled the homestead. So everything that you could have done, I'm sorry, I know the rules, I'm sorry. Nah, that's not a problem. Matt Nolan, Warren County Auditor. So I don't want to interrupt, but I think it's important that people know last week the state doubled the homestead. It did everything that the county could have done with the piggyback on its own. And so your tax exemption will double. It'll go up by 100%. So every county that I'm aware of that did the piggyback is getting rid of it because the state's doing it for them. And the only kind of disagreement I would have with what you said, we have no choices in who gets it and who doesn't. It's an all or nothing proposition. So I know I talked with the commissioners about if we could just do it for veterans, or we could just do it for people in Kings and Mason schools, not in people in Franklin schools. We can't. It's an all or nothing. It's got to go to everybody. And so my criticism of it, and what I talked with the prosecutor's office and the commissioners about was, if there's a way we could reimburse the school districts, 100%, I would have supported it. But I didn't support it personally, not that I get a vote, because it would be requiring the commissioners to take money basically from the school districts. But the state is doing that for us. They're going to reimburse everyone. So that was my lead, just stole my lead, but I wanted to put that out there.
which was
Does
what
that
I was
start with
going.
tax year 2027?
Tax year 26.
Okay,
Payable
so
27.
payable
Collected.
27. Okay, that was it. That was all I had a question.
So, thank you for
That was
being
good
here.
news for
You
me.
will be you may be interested to stay for the next public hearing, because we are gonna be talking with the auditor about, some of the things that these two opportunities prompted for us a few months ago. So we had a pretty exhaustive conversation about it, and, was really happy to hear about the state, doubling that homestead exemption here just recently, so thank you for being here,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to,
Motion to adjourn.
and yes. So now we will, get into our regular session, our agenda 2, and we're gonna start off with our auditor on our first public hearing to consider increasing the county sales and use tax by 0.5%. We will be having a second public hearing next week as well, on this. So, Matt, we will turn it over to you.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt on that last one, but
That's okay.
You didn't, I asked you.
I know.
I was interrupted by my colleague.
There's only one apology. I'm sorry for my.
All right, and so I'm going to start off with an apology of sorts. I think that Warren County does such a good job at how we run the county. I really do. I'm obviously a little biased, but I think we do a great job in almost everything, except for one, which was just demonstrated. Our communication is lacking, I think, compared to like my colleague in Montgomery County, who had a press conference yesterday to announce all of this. In 12 years as your county auditor, I've never had a press conference. It's just not my personality type. I've got a legal intern right now who helped put this PowerPoint together. I call it a PowerPoint, which tells you how old I am. And it's just an area we're lacking. Now, there's a cost associated with doing those types of things, but I am working at getting out to get this message out. And so I appreciate the opportunity today, because over the last 7 months, the entire property tax world has changed. The biggest changes in any of our lifetimes, in reality, the biggest changes in Ohio's property tax laws in Ohio's history, and I think like 17 people know that. And so I put the blame a little bit on the legislature and the governor, but a lot on us, because we haven't gotten out there. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about all the things that have changed, and I'm sure there's 46 people watching online that'll now know how property taxes have changed, but it's 46 people that we didn't have before. And I know Commissioner Young was in the newspaper recently and does a good job on WLW, but I do think as county auditor, I have to do a better job of getting this information out there, because property taxes have changed dramatically. The laws around them have changed. And so I'm going to take, if you'll allow me, about 2 minutes to explain where property taxes are now that are different than the last time I was here. Every single person in this room, every resident of Warren County, property taxes are going down on the second half. And so today it's June 16th. Normally your tax bills go out this week. They're not going out this week. They're not going out for a few weeks until early July, because we're still calculating all of the things that the legislature changed that went into effect at the end of March. But the good news is every single resident's taxes are going down. Commissioner Young, it's a very small amount. Commissioner Jones, it's a little more. So for Commissioner Young, it's about $5, $6 per 100,000. For Commissioner Jones, it's about $50, $60 per 100,000. Why are you different? King schools, Springboro schools, right? And so anybody that's in a 20 mil floor district, which is everybody other than Kings and Mason, you're going to see a $50 or $60 reduction per 100,000 on your second half tax bill. Everybody in Mason and Kings, it's a smaller reduction. Why? Your taxes went up a lot more after the last revale. Your taxes did not. So that's the difference. That's what's doing that. So that's a small thing. You know, to let people know this, the biggest response has been, well, that's not very much money. That's true. It's not very much money on an individual basis. Statewide, it's billions of dollars. And the state's paying for all of this. They're reimbursing all of the schools for this reduction. And so that's the first thing. The positive, everybody's getting a small reduction. Next year, the reduction continues. So this reduction you're getting on your second half bill will be on your taxes next year. In addition, your owner occupancy credit is going up, so your taxes are going to go down. Small again. Everything here is small, but it's gradually reducing taxes. The biggest part of all of this, now no one ever in Ohio's taxes are ever going to go up again more than the rate of inflation. So this idea of 25% value increases leading to 20% tax increases or higher that we've heard about for the last 9 years as values have increased, never going to happen again. State law has changed. Taxes cannot go up more than the rate of inflation. And I won't get into all of it, but it'll never be the rate of inflation. In no instances will your taxes ever go up the rate of inflation. So those are all positive things that the legislature did, all things that this body helped lobby for. Now there's one big exception to that everybody has to acknowledge: if you vote for it, right? What the Ohio legislature has done is switched from a state-based funding governing model to a local-based funding governing model, where they say, Clear Creek Township, you want a good fire department? You pay for it. You decide how you're going to fund it. You pay for it. Turtle Creek Township, you want better roads? You pay for it. You decide if you're going to fund the road levy or not. And so that's the model that they're putting in place. It's very small d democratic. You get to decide as a local community. The big one, I bolded here, Homestead, this just passed last week. I talked about it as if it was fact. I shouldn't have done that. The governor still has to sign it, but I would be shocked if the governor does not sign it. Very popular thing that he promoted. It was the one piece of our property tax review committee that I was a part of that didn't get passed last year. It got passed this year.
Picture of all of the leaders around the governor yesterday, and I think they were, was it Sunday or Monday?
That's an old picture that they just stopped for.
Oh, well.
That's from the signing of the original legislation.
Oh.
Yeah, that they just moved
I thought I
forward.
read that he signed it, but anyway,
Yeah.
he will sign it.
He will sign it. Now, I have to again put a caveat on it. The legislation says for tax year 26 payable in 27. Which is next year's taxes. Hard stop. So it doesn't say anything about tax year 27, tax year 28 going forward. So we'll have to watch that. Historically, would be very rare to cut people's homestead, right? So that would be an unusual thing to do. But, you know, being honest, the law does not say that. It's only for next year. But it doubles every seniors, every veteran. And in Warren County, most of the applicants that we have for the homestead exemption are permanently disabled vets. That is the majority of the applicants we've had since the law changed. And so we see that. So that's my little law update. I appreciate you indulging me to help, you know, inform people on that. Similarly related, I sat through a presentation that I think was very interesting and to this conversation. Ohio has the 42nd lowest taxes in the state per resident. So on the grand scheme of things, we are very low for taxes. At the same time, we have the 8th highest property taxes. That is not accidental. That is a intentional movement over the last 25 years by the state legislature to take state programs and move them locally, cutting the local government fund, cutting personal property tax, cutting income tax, cutting the cat tax. All these state taxes that all of us paid for years have all been cut, making us a very tax-friendly state overall. When doing that, there haven't been many cuts in programs. And so how do you keep the programs with the cut in all those taxes? It's more of a tax shift than a tax cut. And the shift has been to property taxes at the local level, because local governments can't put a personal property tax in place. We can't tax public utilities. We can't tax all those things that have been cut by the legislature. All we can tax at the county level is property and sales and use, and at the more local level, the school district, is property and income. Those are the only options that we have. And so we've seen those taxes rise while the states have dropped, putting us in the situation that we're in now, which I think everybody would agree is property taxes are too high. The legislature has taken some action, but most property tax items are locally based. And so it brings up this conversation of, here in Warren County, are we in the right mix, right? Do we have of the 3 tools that exist, property, sales, and income, do we have the right mix? Carlisle has the 2nd lowest property taxes in the county. They have a school income tax. Kings, this last November, adopted a school income tax. That seems to be the shift in school districts, because it's the only other tool they have. To keep property taxes down and keep expenditures about where they are, they need to increase a tax, and their option is income tax. We don't have that option at the county. Our only option is sales tax. And so we look at how we would do that. And so this is the sales tax chart from around our area. Looking at the different counties and the sales taxes that they have, we sit at 6.75. Bit of a misnomer, we don't. The state gets 5.75, right? So the state's sales tax is 5.75. We have a 1% sales tax. At the moment, the county has, the sales tax generates, the 1% sales tax generates about the property tax generates about $32 million. So if you look at the county budget, to use round numbers, about $95 million a year, 32 million of that is property taxes. Very close to that is sales tax at 1%. And so the idea would be, should we reduce our property taxes and add a sales tax to compensate for that? At the moment, the county sits with about a 1-year carryover balance. For our budget commission that reviews this, that is as high as we would like to see the county go. And we've had these discussions over the year, not just the county, the townships, the cities, the school districts. School districts is a bad example. All of our school districts have well below 100%. But townships have some, villages. We don't like to see carryover balances exceed 1 year. We don't like to see them under 6 months, in part because we only get our tax collections about every four months into the year, but also meeting payroll, all those types of things. We don't like to see much less than 6 months. We don't like to see more than a year. So that's the window we try to keep local governments in. with one big exception, if there's large capital purchases, right? And so if Turtle Creek Township, since they're here, I'll pick on them, need a new fire truck. Well, it would take multiple years of carryover balance in their fire fund to pay for a fire truck. We understand that. So we have that conversation with them. We love people that buy things in cash, for cash, and so them saving money to buy a fire truck may exceed that 100%. Those types of capital expenditures, building a new building, those types of things, we kind of set aside with the expectation that it's not like a pipe dream. Hey, this building gets built, this fire truck gets bought, but there's a plan in place to do those types of things. But we'd like to see that stay in there. So we're at the top of that right now at the county, which means we need to reduce that through either spending or tax reductions to bring that down. The sales tax, generally thought of as a regressive tax, not generally thought of, it is a regressive tax. What do we mean by that? It taxes poor people more than wealthy people on necessary items, right? If you need a car, you have to buy a car, you have to pay a tax on that. Clothing, you have to pay a tax on that. And so in general, sales tax is a bit of a regressive tax compared to income tax, which is a straight progressive tax. But in Ohio, less so than a federal tax or other states like Tennessee, Florida, where they tax everything. Ohio has a lot of exceptions to their sales tax, which makes it less regressive than most states that are sales tax based. So that's one part of it that we can look at. In general, I think a conservative approach is to use sales tax. The other big thing about sales tax that's a positive, it's paid largely 40 to 50% by people from outside Warren County. And so I was at Kings Island last night. You guys probably do this when I go places. I like to look at the license plates. There weren't a ton of 83 license plates. You know, there's a lot of people from Hamilton County, Butler County there, a lot of people from Kentucky there last night. And so those people are all paying sales tax on all the items. They're not Warren County residents. And so that's the big positive to a sales tax, is it brings in revenue. Those people are using our services, right? They're driving on our roads. They're police departments that are there. They're using our services. It's taxing them for those services. What's the downside to rolling back property taxes? We've done it before, right? We've had a tax holiday. Ray's here. Ray is the one person that called me and said, thanks for the tax holiday, I really noticed that. Most people didn't notice it. We make up less than 5% of the property taxes in the county. So doing this because we're gonna get a pat on the back would be a mistake, because few people are gonna notice it. And so that's one downside. The other downside is the state reimburses us roughly $4 million from the owner-occupied credit and rollbacks. We lose those, right? Those rollbacks, since we don't have a property tax, we don't get rollbacks on that property tax. So we would be giving up money from the state that we otherwise would get. So there are downsides to doing this. The other one, it came up earlier, John's not still here, but okay, it's in the back. We don't get to pick and choose. In my perfect world, we do a owner-occupied tax rollback. And just the residents of Warren County get it. We don't get to do that. When we roll back taxes, it's across the board. And so the Rockies Express pipeline that runs across the northern half of the county, one of our largest taxpayers, they get a tax break, right? I don't necessarily think they should. We don't get to choose that, right? Every single property in Warren County gets this tax break that's not in an abatement or TIF district. And so those are the pluses and minuses to it in my mind. I've talked way more than I should have. What questions can I answer or thoughts that I can?
Can you give just since part of this is education.
Yeah.
When people talk about my property tax bill, I pay $5,000 or $10,000. Who gets what? When people are upset about property taxes, what percentage does a county versus what? Just talk a little bit about that.
Sure, great. In general, the numbers, it varies a lot from district to district, but the general number is 70% of your property taxes go to your local school district. When we talk about property taxes, it's really a conversation about school funding. The county, when we talk about the county, we're talking about the only levy that you guys control is the 2.57 mils of inside millage. It is 5% or less of every taxpayer. So that's all that the county gets. There are other county levies, the Board of Developmental Disabilities, the Health District. Those are county-wide levies. but they have their own boards. The commissioners don't get to control those levies. And so, about 70% goes to the school district. The next biggest are your fire services, right? Your fire, your township, or municipality fire services. Those are, and police services. That's the next on the list. And then after that, you have these small levies. Everybody has a library levy. 2% of your taxes go to your library levy. Everybody pays a little bit to DD. Again, about 4 to 5% to developmental disabilities, about 1% to senior services. So the other category are small. If I put up a pie chart, there's little small colors that you can't even see. The Pac-Man on the pie chart is schools, right? And that's what we're talking about.
And again, school levies, property tax rates are set by the voters of those jurisdictions, correct?
Every single levy that you pay to a school district is set by a voter. 50% plus one of those that show up to vote, the voters pass.
So this isn't just government, as frustrated as all of us are with property taxes, this isn't a government coming in and saying, we're jacking you up and doing all this stuff, that 70% goes to the schools, fire, all that other stuff is a big chunk, but the actual government piece, the county government piece, is literally 5% of that number, and the 70% isn't even set by the school board. It's actually, they go to the voters and the voters approve or deny that.
That's exactly right. And it's been a big shift, people talk about the DeRolf case, the slide on that, it gets confusing. Supreme Court case 30 years ago that said we fund schools too much this way. We shouldn't use property taxes as much, we should fund them from the state. Well, when DeRolf came out, we were at about 48% funding by the state. Now we're below 42%. And so the state has continuously said, we're not doing that. You guys decide that locally, and that's why part of the reason we've seen this increase in property taxes to our school districts is they've said, you do that locally. And overall, people have said, yeah, we will do that locally. Most school levies pass. People continuously say, while we hear complaints, and some of us might complain sometimes about them, overall, the vast majority of levies pass.
And so while about roughly 5% of Warren County's tax bill comes to the county to fund all of the county services, that 5% accounts for roughly a third of our county budget. And so what we're really, one of the things that we're talking about here, you mentioned the tax holiday we did about 4 years ago or so. As we had increased reserves, we didn't collect our portion of that, the property taxes for all property taxpayers for that year. And so now we're in the position again and are wanting to do a similar tax holiday, which we're going to do for the 2027 collection. The purpose for this hearing then is, as we were talking about this challenge, did we want to look at shifting to a greater reliance on sales tax as opposed to property taxes, which is the proposal that we wanted to discuss. We did discuss it with you and want to continue to have that conversation, which would basically, if we wanted to pilot this for a year, we'd have to do it year over year. It would be potentially increasing the sales tax by 0.5 cent, sales and use tax by 0.5 cent, which would allow us, so if we did the holiday for 27, it would allow us potentially to then extend that into 2028 in effect.
Yes.
And so it's not, nothing we would do would be permanent. It would be to see, do we raise enough in that modest increase in sales taxes to allow us to continue to extend by the same period of time the in effect, a property tax reduction. And, ultimately to be able to see if that's something that we could permanently do if that's what we wanted to do. So it's in essence shifting the burden from property tax payers to sales tax payers, 60% of which come from outside of the county. It's also broad-based in that, it's something like, depending on how you figure the average spending, and I appreciate the fact that you included all of the exclusions that the state of Ohio has on sales tax, making it less regressive than a lot of other states because we exclude food and, other things from our sales tax. Potentially it's, a $50 a year increase in sales tax versus a several $100 a year reduction in property taxes. And that's really the construct we wanted to discuss. And so I guess, now that you've had some chance to kind of think about our conversation, what is your kind of feedback around that?
Yeah, thank you. It's exactly right. The wording you used is what I would use. This is a tax shift. This isn't intended to be a tax cut. It is a cut in that we're going to bring almost for sure in year one less sales tax revenue and property tax, just because of what we can calculate that now. And so it'll be, going from 32 to 27 or so million. That's a tax cut. But really what we're talking about is a shift. And we could do the 2001 tax holiday again. We could do that today, and I think the commissioners all agreed to that, but that's a temporary item. And we can do that, and we can do it like we have over, Dave, I think 3 or 4 times over your 20+ year career. Or we can make a permanent change, a more permanent change. We can, there's nothing that can be done in government that's truly permanent. And I've heard people say that, well, they could change this. Of course. You two might not be commissioners in 2 years, and somebody might come in and change. Of course, that's all government. But the intent that I'm putting forward, that I think that I'm hearing that we want to put forward, is we're not going to be a property tax-based county. We're going to be a sales tax-based county. Where does that make more sense than the largest playground in Ohio to be a sales tax-based? And so we get to, what the legislature has said is we want counties to experiment. This doesn't work in Pike County. This doesn't work in Vinton County. This may work in Warren County. And so I think we have the opportunity to try this and say, senior citizens, we hear you. We know your taxes are too high. We can't do that much to help you, but we can do this to help you. There's no question a sales tax switch helps senior citizens. There's no question it helps the disabled. People that can't control their property values, but they can control what they buy. This helps those types of people. For the 3 of us, it probably isn't that much. My son's birthday was yesterday. The 3D printer that we bought, I got to pay sales tax on, and so those types of things I choose to buy, and we're going to make those changes. But this is we'd be the first county that I'm aware of to consciously make this effort, to say we are not going to be based on property taxes. And I will say, 5 years ago, if we'd have had this conversation, we had these ideas, I'd have said this is a bad idea, because sales tax was unreliable. Right? When COVID happened, I was scared. And Tiff and I had conversations of, we are in such trouble. Kings Island's not going to open. Sports Park's not going to open. We were having conversations of what are we going to do. The economy has changed in such a way that sales tax is much more reliable now than it was in the past because we tax internet purchases. And so we actually saw an increase in sales tax revenue because of all the internet purchases that came on at that time. And so this is a reliable, safe way to tax going forward. It helps senior citizens. It reduces the overall burden on Warren County residents. It is a tax. I know nobody likes taxes. I hate taxes. We all hate taxes. But we have to have revenue for our police department. We have to have revenue for our judges, where most of our money goes. We have to have revenue for children's services and human services. And so, is this a better way than property taxes? My opinion is yes.
And so, like, the proposal that we're considering is for 1 year. It's to, it's to, create the same, property tax holiday that we have previously. So no one will be paying the county portion of their property taxes in 27, which is about, you said, 32 million?
Correct.
So about $32 million will not be paid. And at the same time, we're proposing for 1 year to increase the sales tax by a half cent, which you're projecting that's gonna collect about 27 million, and that we would offset that additional 5 million or so in revenue. So there is the cut there, so people will be getting the cut in the first instance, and then sort of reevaluate, like, how is it working? So while we're giving the cut, being able to say, like, is this something that, makes sense for us to consider to do on an annual basis? So it will always be, can always be reviewed by us. But because we've managed so conservatively, keeping, costs low, running efficiently, and not taking on debt and those sorts of things, we have the ability now to do another holiday. And in doing that, should we experiment for 1 year to see how, what that means, and that we have a chance to reevaluate on an annual basis, and arguably may have something worth showing to state legislators about, there are some other things that we can do to reduce the reliance on. I mean, they certainly could allow local governments, since they continue to cut the local government funds, to keep a greater percentage of the sales tax revenue. Those are some things that I would certainly put forward for their consideration. But I just want people to understand what it is that we're looking to do. It's really just to, I hate to say experiment, but it's a 1 year test case to see if that makes sense for, our residents here. And I'm with you. I wish we could pick and choose taxpayers that would benefit from this, but we aren't able to do that. And so this was just a way for us to try something without the residents to have to take on the burden. They'd still get the benefit of a tax cut, and it may be a bigger tax cut depending on what they spend and the valuation on their property.
So again, you're the auditor, you're the chief financial officer of this county. Everybody has opinions. I like to set the table always with facts. What is the average home cost in Warren County ballpark?
Yeah, 300,000 is the number we use, most commonly.
Okay, so we're talking about a $300,000 house, and what is the county's portion of the sales or of the property tax that we have any control over or say over?
Yeah, so it's 5%, it's about 2.57 mils for that language.
So that equates into $270.
$270, that's right.
So again, setting the table for everyone, a $300,000 house, no matter what your tax bill is, which is primarily determined by what school district you live in, that's not the case at the county level. We're the same across the board. Your $300,000 house, we get $270 of your total tax bill comes in. That's the only thing we have any say over, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when we said that, we're considering raising a tax, a sales tax, but it's not in isolation. It's the only reason this board is considering doing this is because it's in conjunction with a tax cut. So if we now talk in facts, a $300,000 house, which is $270 reduction. Period, end of story. Not the biggest deal in the world, but it's a deal.
It's real
I
money
mean,
for people.
that's money. That for every $10,000 that you spend, and, oh, I spend more than 10,000. Well, probably, but is it exempt from taxes? Is it, you know, and I was coming up with that number based on somebody makes 80 grand a year, and, you know, a lot goes to your mortgage and a lot goes to groceries, and you spend a lot of money outside the county. So for every $10,000 you spend, a 1/2% increase in the sales tax, chief financial officer, equates to how much money?
$50.
$50.
Testing me there. I was
I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I went to Sycamore. But if someone's offering me a deal that, okay, it's gonna cost me $50 over here, and I'm gonna save you $270 over here, I think that's $220 to the good for me. So what we're actually talking about for Warren County residents, property owners in Warren County, who we're charged with trying to oversee and do the best job we can, we're talking about a tax reduction,
That's correct.
right? I mean,
Flat out.
that is not an opinion, that is a fact, correct?
Fact.
Okay.
You'd
So I
have to
just
spend a
wanna
lot of money in sales tax items to make this not a tax reduction.
Okay, yeah. So, and again, now all of a sudden I spend $100,000 a year. Well, then you're not living in a $300,000 house, right?
That's exactly right.
And so then, that's times 3. Well, all of a sudden, okay, now we're talking about saving you $1,000. Yeah.
That's exactly, and I think that's the best way to present it, is we are shifting, but really for Warren County residents, it's a cut. For Hamilton County residents, you know, if you come up to Kings Island, you don't pay our property taxes, now you're gonna pay a little more, so it's a small increase for them, but for Warren County residents, there's no way, it's very hard to picture a person that this is not a cut for.
And right, and now we're gonna talk about the surrounding, is there a cost-benefit analysis based on what's the ramifications of actually doing this? Because it's a free market economy. People are gonna invest their capital and spend their money where they get the highest return for the least amount of risk. And if I'm making a major purchase and I see something that's a lot cheaper over here, am I really gonna drive over and do it? So those are things that it is a variable.
Absolutely.
That comes into play. So if we're talking about this, and one of the things that we learned is, again, 50%, 60%, tourism is our #1 industry. And again, if I'm speaking average guy on the street like I like to think I am, if I'm speaking that language, why is Warren County different when it comes to this? You made that statement before. We're different because we have millions of visitors that come to our county. You go to other surrounding Stark County or Lucas County or wherever, they don't have millions of people coming to their county in a free market economy and choosing to spend their hard-earned dollars there. We do. So all of those people coming in here, one of the thoughts is, why not, if I'm trying to take care of the property tax owners, why not leverage that benefit that we have, which is millions of people coming in and spending money here? Let's tax them a little bit more so all of our residents are taxed less. That's literally the concept. So what does that do to us? Again, it takes us from 6 3/4 to 7 1/4. Hamilton County's already at 7.8. Butler County's at 6.5.
So when they come to Kings Island and buy their Coke, they're getting a tax cut.
Yeah, so everybody from Hamilton County, which I think is probably the biggest contributor to those visitors coming up to the county. You would think it's the biggest county surrounding us is Hamilton County. Yet that's a tax cut. That's a great point, Commissioner Jones, that they're actually paying a little bit less than what they normally do. Our two surrounding counties, Butler and Claremont, which are great counties, but they're not blessed like we are relative to tourism to the tune of millions and millions of people, is 6.5 and 6.75. So, okay, let's think about that, because that's not just in a vacuum. And this is the way I'm trying to quantify this. You produced one of the greatest documents I've seen in my 22 years here, which is the comparison of inside millage. And now, again, if I'm the average guy on the street, well, what exactly does this mean? I break this down as total tax burden per county. And I'll give our auditor a little bit of a praise here. When this was chaos at the state level for a long time, property taxes, because this revaluation, and all of a sudden people's homes appreciated a boatload, and all of a sudden they're getting tax bills that are like, what the heck is this? Happened to all of us. So because your home value went up a lot, so all of a sudden your taxes went up. Not correlated, I mean, but they went up. So everybody's talking about doing all these things. Our auditor, Matt Nolan, was literally in the middle of this and came up with multiple ideas, and I think most of your ideas are now the law, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely a team effort, but yes, everything that, we had a worksheet that said all the things the state should do, and as of last week, they adopted every single one of them.
And that's where you were talking about, with that, even with that revaluation, we can all be rest assured that the state's not gonna come in and double your property tax. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so the state has put basically a cap in place. The taxes, unless they're voted on, can never again go up more than inflation. It doesn't matter if the overall property value is double. If inflation's 9%, your taxes can't go up more than 9%.
Okay, that's actually super good news. Okay, so now if I go back and talk about the competition, the surrounding counties, how's Warren County doing? Because we always like to say, you know, we're the best run county, blah, blah, blah. Well, they're talking about raising taxes. But we're not really. We're talking about cutting taxes to our residents. So even in a vacuum, that we're not really net cutting taxes, how does our inside millage compare to other counties? And, oh, they're too high, they're this, they're that, and yes, even though 70% are coming from the schools. Our auditor did a little comparison of other jurisdictions in Ohio, and I just want to read off these numbers just to give us a sense of how are we taxed versus other people are taxed. The highest one I found on your list, Lucas County. And again, I don't want to get into what all the numbers are, but there's an aggregate number. When you add up all the millage, from libraries to fires to schools to counties to whatever, there's a number. The number in Lucas County is 28.94. Okay, that's a number. Next on the list, Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, 26.53. Next on the list, our friends to the south, Hamilton County, 25.76. The state capital, Franklin, 20.37. Inside millage, property taxes for the residents. Now it gets even more interesting. Our friends to the west, Butler County, 12.13. They're literally about half what the big counties are, the urbanized counties. Our friends to the east, Claremont County, even better, 10.7. Your total taxation of all the things on property taxes rolled into a number, Butler, 12.13, Claremont, 10.7. Anybody got to guess what Warren County's is? 7.78. So when we compare ourselves to everybody else, again, that's not an opinion, those are facts. We're at 7.78 total millage, comparable counties. Claremont's 25% higher, Butler's 40% higher, not to mention the out of control spending people in urbanized counties, which are literally more than triple what we are. So I'm just trying to set the stage of, wait, are these a bunch of tax and spend people? Or are they just trying to raise our taxes? No, we're trying to cut your taxes. And in conjunction with, we have a little bit of a history of being pretty good at this. Anybody, even in an inflationary time like we have now, there's some taxes, or there's some inflationary pressures, especially on wages. Wonder if anybody has a guess of how much, you know, I would think most people's wages went up some last year. Most people's total aggregate expenses probably went up last year. we're a consumer. We have employees,
Healthcare.
we buy stuff, healthcare, we buy things. Anybody got a guess how much our budget went up last year? It didn't, it went down. We cut your budget by 1/4% this year, literally, even in this inflationary environment.
And I think that's, this board does a really good job every year of scrutinizing, you know, our healthcare contracts and our wages and whether or not we should even be taking on services to grow the size of government. Like, we really scrutinize the budget. It's probably the thing we spend the most time on, and it's important. And I think there's more that this county can be doing in the collective, and that I would really love to have these conversations. For example, I think there's duplication among governments that, you know, we run a large 911 dispatch center, and there are communities that host their own. And I've always believed that we should be looking at ways on behalf of the taxpayers to maintain the high level of service and do it more efficiently. So I think there's an opportunity to have a conversation there. I also think the same is true with the fire districts. We have too many fire districts in this in this county, and can we have a conversation that consolidates while still providing the level of service that people have become accustomed to, and doing it more efficiently? And so, you know, I think as we as a county have really done a lot to, I mean, the fact that we don't have debt, I don't know how many other counties in this state can even say that we have no debt. We save resources. When you say, well, we have 12 months for carryover, you know, a lot of times in that carryover, we're anticipating expenditures because our county is still growing. So we still have roads that need to be paved and sewers that need to be installed and all, you know, all the things that come with it. But we really look at our capital needs and save as best as we can for those types of big investments. I still think the county as a whole could do more on that same line of thinking, and I think those are conversations we need to have with our partners in our local governments here. How can we look at ways to consolidate? And so that's not, you know, I think those are healthy conversations that we need to be having in this community to make sure we're getting the quality services at the lowest possible price. And I think that's what our taxpayers demand of us. So those are some places, you know, I don't know how you feel about that, auditor. Am I barking up the wrong tree here?
They're gonna think in the back of the room that I paid you to talk about these things, because everybody knows this is my biggest issue now that we've gotten tax change at Columbus. You know, I mean, Turtle Creek knows that I think Turtle Creek and Lebanon could be one fire district. Clear Creek, this fire chief is head of the state fire chief. I don't know. He's a big deal. Vice president, and is as good a fire chief as you'll find in the state of Ohio. And we've talked about this. The inflationary pressures that are getting put on costs require us to consolidate at the local level. And Warren County, people, you guys, well, you did it. You get asked this all the time. Why don't you go to Columbus and do things? I don't think you can do things in Columbus as we can do them right here. And time after time, they adopt things in Columbus. And people ask me, are you excited? I'm like, no, we've been doing it that way in Warren County for a decade. Like, they've adopted the Warren County way, and I just love improving the Warren County way more and more. I also am the personality type that if we're at 98%, I want to be at 100. You know, it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate and love that we're at 98%, but let's push a little more and do that. And I'm sure it drives my staff crazy. But I think we got to keep doing that. And there are ways we can improve. This body, the county commissioners, have led that, and I think they are the body to lead that, right? They're the voice and the CEOs of the county, and so that's what I'm hoping these types of actions do. is continue to keep us where we are, in my opinion, as the top county in the state.
Yeah, I think the no debt is a huge deal to the residents. The easy thing to do, and again, we are so debt averse, it makes me sick. We have turned down federal dollars before. The federal government is broke, $39 trillion in debt. You don't want to get out and go to nationaldebt.org. Take a look at what your personal percentage of that national debt is for every taxpayer and every resident and every child that you have. I mean, every resident of America, it's what, $150,000? Every taxpayer is pushing $300,000. It's ridiculous, the amount of money that's spent. We are the polar opposites of that. So the only other time that in my 22 years we've actually raised taxes, I'm actually pretty proud of it. You know when we did it? About 10 years ago, we raised the sales tax. Why did we raise the sales tax? Because we had spent 15 years overcrowding a jail, even with the population growth, where we had done everything possible, ankle monitors, early double bunking, you name it in jail consolidation world, to the point of we started to get early releases of people that shouldn't have been released from jail. And then it's like, we're tapping out, we gotta build a new jail. So what did we do? Our investment banker people came in and said, hey, let's go borrow, you got 10 million saved, it's gonna be a $60 million jail, let's go borrow 50 million, and take a guess what the interest carry on that over a 30-year bond issuance was. Close to $40 million that we would still be paying in interest on this asset that everyone thought was critical. Having a jail is kind of a big deal in government. We need it. That's not a fluff something. We had to have it. We raised the sales tax for a period certain, 5 years. It's not just some new income stream some politician can dream up a new way of spending. We raised the sales tax for 5 years, 0.5%, generated $10 million a year for the 5 years, and we paid off that jail in a 5-year period. It worked. It did it, and then we turned off the sales tax increase. So we've got a long history of trying to do things, and as our board president, Commissioner Jones, said, and again, I want to give them credit in that article yesterday. I said this was the two of you. I gave you credit about 15 times. I didn't put it in there. You guys have been talking about this a lot, so I appreciate the concept of doing this. If not with us, then who? Because we're going to take in, how much did you say? $4 million less? So we're actually going to cut our revenue by about $4 million, but we're so financially strong, we should try it. You know, I'm open to trying it, because if not us, then who? And then maybe, because we've done so many things that the state has eventually adopted, including COVID, when they were locking kids out because of masking stuff. They adopted our model. So we've got a long history of trying to lead things and people doing it a little bit outside the box and other people adopting it.
And we also, on the jail, we also saved as much money as we could on the front end. So we had $7 to $9 million saved for the jail. And then, like you said, we did a quarter-cent sales tax increase for specific purpose for a finite period of time, saving taxpayers $40 million. And so, you know, the long and short of it is that a lot of times when elected officials talk about raising sales taxes, it's because there are services that they want to be able to provide new services, new employees, and that's not where we are. What we are talking about is not increasing our budget by that amount, just changing who pays. And, you know, the reason why, you know, Commissioner Young, you know, years ago, and that we've continued down this path, and I supported him in his efforts in the legislature to really stoke tourism in this county, to make it the largest industry in the county, is because it changes the tax base and allows our services to be paid for, in many instances, from people who don't live here, to keep that property tax burden low. I mean, that's the reason why the sports complex and you know, all of the other things that we do in the county to support travel and tourism. So this is not a function of government wanting to grow. It's a function of changing who's paying for the government we're having, and consistently asking ourselves the question, how do we keep the costs of government down and not grow because the revenues are growing?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and again, I appreciate, it was then Senator Jones who, working with our friends in Turtle Creek Township and Otterbein, when we talked about, oh, we want to have a sports complex. Great, and the projections were, oh, it was going to bring in 700,000 people with their kids, and they're going to spend money over, what, Martin, like a 5-year period?
Yeah, and then first year it went over 1 million, and it's 1.4 now.
Literally, first year it was over 1 million people came. 1.4 million people come to our sports complex, stay in our hotels, eat at our restaurants, fill up at the gas station. They're spending money here. That's how it works. That, Kings Island, our one global sports asset, the tennis tournament, hundreds of thousands of people, 50 states, 30 countries, all coming here. It's working. And so that's the concept here. And again, maybe we don't do it long term, but the concept is, let's leverage all of those people coming here, charge them a little bit more, and charge our residents less. That's literally all we're trying to do.
That's it.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I appreciate the time. I'm sorry I took so much of it up, but any questions that you have, that residents have, I'm easy enough to reach, so feel free to reach out, and anything I can do to assist. I know these decisions aren't easy, so if there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
Great, thank you. Okay, at this time, is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Just please come up and state your name and address for the record. We'll take you next, sir.
Oh.
Thank you.
Sorry, did I go to?
That's okay.
I'm Ray Warwick, 5466 Grand Legacy in Hamilton Township. This was a good discussion this morning. A couple of macro thoughts, because the lens of Joe Blow citizen, what we know about tax dollars and money that flows into the government on all levels, that billions of dollars of it has been stolen. So that's one lens we have on. I generally support moving to a consumption tax, sales tax. I think that's great. And if you're gonna do it, don't do it as an experiment. Do it and permanently cut the property tax. I don't think you need to play around with it. You can do the property tax, if you're just gonna do a holiday again, do the holiday. I don't think you need to do the sales tax increase, because we can do the math. The experiment, we can still verify where we'd be. So that's my two thoughts on it. Either do it all the way or not. All across government, we spend too much. Now, I brag about Warren County all the time. Nobody else does tax holidays. Nobody else turns down federal money. What, they want you to buy some buses or something? Nobody does that. So we're at a good place, but I would just say, do it. The other thing is, I believe it has a referendum requirement attached to the way you would go about doing it. I would encourage you to make sure that's on there, in case, who knows, maybe Dave and Shannon get run over by a bus, and then we get.
Let's not put that in the atmosphere.
But, you know, then where are we? And I don't know the timing and the legal aspects of all that, but we could petition our government and maybe change it if we don't like it. And not to be offensive, but I typically am. Back when we did the lodging tax for the sports complex, and I agree with all the sentiment of the fact that the county runs off tourism. I just disagree that the county should own and operate that sports complex. We don't own and operate Kings Island, and that's the big draw. And also the tennis thing, I just don't like the fact that the county, the state, and Mason gave money, millions of dollars, to a billionaire. I just don't like it. I don't like underwriting it. If the private sector's doing it, I'm fine with it. So those are my gripes about that. But back when, and the jail story is just tremendous, the way that was done. But it had a limit to it. I think we got out earlier than we expected. And yes, there was a lot of discussion and a lot of analysis of what the cost of the jail should be. And we were aiming at a moving target because, you know, they kept changing the regulations of what you got to do in a jail, and it was pulled off wonderfully. And that's a core government service. The county's supposed to have a jail, supposed to have a court. So those things are taken care of. But back when the lodging tax thing happened to do the sports complex, I remember, can't remember how many years ago, but there was a meeting and several of us who were against government getting in the sports marketing business came in this room, and on that particular morning, and I'm just trying to recall, there seemed to be a legal problem with how it was going to be done, and so that it got delayed. But the other thing that happened that it was really upsetting to some of us, when that amendment was going through Columbus, because that you couldn't do it like with sales tax, you had to get an amendment from Columbus. It had a referendum requirement attached to it. When the board found out about that, they wrote a letter to State Senator Shannon Jones and said, can you get that requirement off of there? And lo and behold, it came off of there. I think that was terrible. You took away our ability and our right to petition our government. That, I think, was bad. And so no matter what you do with this sales tax, if that requirement is a part of the whole thing, please, let's not try to figure out how to get it off there in case we want to petition the government over it. Now, I learned more things this morning about this, and I think you have to get the word out there. And my only thing is I don't like this concept of we're going to experiment for a year or two. Just do it.
So thank you, Ray, for being here. But I'm going to get to you, sir.
I'm sitting here patiently. I'm retired.
But I was going to ask Adam to just come forward. Well, let me just ask. I don't want to cut you off prematurely, but I was gonna invite Adam up to kind of talk about just some of the legal issues that you raised. You know, the referendum and why the kind of 1 year piece, if that's okay.
No, it's fine.
Great, thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. I'm Adam Nice from the Warren County Prosecutor's Office in the Civil Division. On the referendum, the statutes do require a referendum. The statute right now doesn't let you waive that. So this is passed it's a legislative act by this Board of Commissioners, and there's a 30-day period for referendum. So that's baked into the process. So, and there's no way you can get around that. Secondly, that year to year, the way that the county operating budget is done is by an annual budget that has to be approved by the Budget Commission. It's required to do that every year. Every year is when this board tells the budget commission how much of the inside millage you want to collect. So every year, if you want to continue collecting zero inside millage and real property tax, you have to tell the budget commission that every single year, every single year. There's no way you can just say forever, we're never going to do this. And Mr. Warwick's right, if there's a change in who is sitting on the Board of County Commissioners, they can of course change this if they want to. There's a majority desire to do so because the board every year develops its operating budget. The sales tax increase, you pass that, the state Department of Taxation notifies the vendors, they start collecting it, and this board, of course it's subject to referendum, but this board can repeal that if and when it wants. So you can say, let's try it for 2 years, let's try it for 3 years, let's try it for 1 year. It's up to you to repeal that if it's not subject to a referendum. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sir, you gonna come forward now? Oh, you're coming forward? Yes.
I talked with him, he said I was okay.
Okay. Since we've already indulged you in the last meeting.
Okay. So I agree with, Mr. Nolan. The general public doesn't really, the communication's not there from the board. And while he was going over everything, I'll be the oddball here, probably. I don't have an issue with the income tax, or the sales tax. I think offsetting, even if I spent what I get from my military, income, even if I spent every dollar on that, on taxable stuff, I'd only spend $300, with the increase. With $270 coming off, I'm not gonna spend anywhere close to that. So I don't think it's a terrible idea, and I don't think trialing it for a year is a bad idea either. Because you guys need to budget, you need to know what the budget's gonna look like, how many people, like you said, how many people are gonna go to Butler County to buy this because they save a half a percentage on a car or whatever their big purchases are. But see what comes in versus what you guys are saving, and I don't think it's a terrible idea. So, that was it.
Thank you. Can you just, I know you were here the last meeting, but for our, the purposes of the record for this meeting, could you just state your name and address again?
It's Ryan Griffin, and it's 8185 Winding Trail Place.
Great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Sir, do you?
Measure?
Yes.
Is it kind of slow?
That's okay. We could actually bring a microphone to you if that's,
I'd like to come up.
okay, great.
Thank you.
Whatever you prefer.
I had a bad neurosurgeon, that's why I talk like this.
I'm sorry to hear
Anyhow.
that.
My name is Glenn Hoffman, Hoffmann. I live at 978 West Wing Cove, TPC Rivers Bend, Hamilton Township. I'd like to thank you very much, sir, because what I know about infertility would put you guys on the floor snoring. Finance is not my area of expertise, and you took and were speaking to me as a citizen about what all this stuff means with the auditor, and I really appreciate that. Congratulations. Our president said he was going to take and cut property taxes for seniors who own their own homes. I'm 75 years old. I moved up here in 2015 when I retired from practice, and I bought my house for $585,000. And now with having done nothing but maybe putting some nice decorative lights out front, light bulbs in the basement because there was only one by the furnace and the water softener. That's all I've done to the house, and now my house is valued at all over $1 million. And my understanding of finances is how much money do I have coming in and how much money do I have to give out. My property taxes have gone up yearly, and for this tax year, my Social Security is after tax is $3,080 a month. And June is the first month where 100% of that Social Security went to paying my bills. That's a tough way to live when the money that I've worked for and saved as property tax, Social Security, gets taken up with my property taxes. So I'm all for anything you can do, and I assume that the things that our POTUS promised me that because I'm a senior and I own my house outright, that we're going to eliminate property taxes. Is there anything in what you do that I don't understand that is gonna help me being a 75-year-old man living on Social Security.
I mean, the only thing, I mean, thank you for your comment. I mean, I like to think I've got one or two things the good Lord gave me, but it's like the ability to take sometimes these esoteric, complex things and break them down like the average guy can. I mean, I try to do that because I
gave you the
understand.
talent for me.
I felt like when I was young, you know, people used to talk down to me, and it's like, wait, they're trying to show how smart they are, and I never appreciated that. So I've always tried to just, hey, put it like you know, somebody that didn't
You
have
did a
my
good
life
job, sir.
experience to do. So thanks for saying that. You are also the exact person that I've used as an illustration a lot of times when it comes to property taxes, because your real world circumstances don't always equate to investment guy, money guy, Dave Young, that understands all this stuff, that I would tell you what a great situation you're in Warren County, buying a house that was $585,000, sticking some landscaping lights up, and your net worth just went up $500,000 almost, right? That's unbelievable. What a deal. That's the best deal in the world. However, in reality, you're not selling that house, and you're having to pay out of a limited income that's coming in. The property taxes are going crazy. So like if you were just a regular corporate executive, and yeah, your property taxes went up and up and up, and you just made $500,000 on your home, that's the best deal in the world, because the schools are great and the quality of life here, and
Don't
there's a
get
high
me in the
demand.
schools.
But it doesn't affect you because you're not going anywhere.
I'm in King's Schools, and they passed this thing that said, we're gonna tax your earnable income 1%, and I don't know what a mill is, but we're gonna get a half a mill or some kind of gift from you on our property taxes. And when I called up the auditor's office to ask how much I was gonna save, because my wife's job pays her $50,000, so we would be paying the state $500 for the King's School District. And she laughed at me. She said, "Sir, that's the biggest bait and switch I've ever heard, because you're going to be paying $500 to the state for the King's School District, which is just a pool of $12 million, and you're going to get all of $245 back." So, is there a limit to how much the school districts can, by passing these levies?
There's a limit, and it's based on what the voters approve.
I understand that, but they're morons.
Well, those are the questions for the state legislature. They control that. We don't have any control over it.
I'm just not asking you, okay?
No, I mean, listen, I appreciate your comments very much. And, you know, I think our approach has been, we're gonna do everything we can and what we can control.
I'm very proud of you. You've done great work. See, I didn't know that until I came today.
Yeah.
And now
And
I'm gonna go
so-
home limping that I shouldn't complain so much.
So next year, based on your evaluation, you know, you'll have a pretty good sales tax or a property tax holiday, so.
I will look forward to it. Thank you all. Stay safe and have a blessed
Thank
day.
you for being here again.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you all for having us today. I'm Stephen Stein, I live in Mason, Ohio. And I think this sales tax increase is a slippery slope. We're gonna wind up like the Canadians, paying VAT and everything else, and paying 15% of their restaurant bill to the government. I much prefer to pay property tax, because I look at my tax bill and I know what's going in the Mason School District, I know where everything's going. I pay sales tax, and I don't know where the money's going. And I don't even like going to Hamilton County, because I pay almost 1% more in sales tax. So you really need to look at your competing counties and where you're gonna keep the people in. Now, it's fine that millions come to Kings Island, that's a great concept, I just think you're going down the wrong path. And basically, what I hear here is you're assuming that everybody in Warren County is a property owner. This really screws the low-income renter. Now, maybe they're only gonna pay $50 more a year, but people living on a small budget cannot afford that. And I'm sure that their landlords are not gonna pass on the tax break that they get in lower rent. I also come from New Jersey, where we never had such a thing as a school levy. Schools needed money, they passed a bond issue. Ohio's always been backwards to me. Now, our property taxes were pretty high, because we got our garbage picked up twice a week. That's what my mother always said. So is this thing gonna be temporary like the jail? Or are you gonna keep raising it till it's 15% and the state legislature gets rid of property taxes altogether?
So we're limited on what we can raise in the sales tax. So, Adam, do you recall what, I don't even think we'd have it much more room in the sales tax, even if we wanted to, and we're not inclined to, and we're not proposing to do that.
That's
But
right.
we're limited in what we can raise the sales tax.
That's right, so the county, there's two types of taxes on sales that a county can legislate. And Warren County right now has a 0.5% sales tax, which is, statute calls it sort of just the additional tax for specific purposes. And then there's a permissive tax, which is also 0.5%. The permissive tax, you are allowed to raise another 0.5%. And then, after that, if you wanna go beyond that, you can only go to 1.5. And off the top of my head, I think that requires, that might require a vote.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think it does.
But for your own legislative, grand total, all in for a county sales tax, between the permissive sales tax and the additional tax, you could possibly be at 2%. You could have a transit tax, which is a sales tax, but we don't have that here, and we fund our, very small public transit operation differently through grants. But they can't go to 15% to answer your question. They could go up.
Well, I don't mean right away,
Yeah.
but the proposals in,
The
to get
law-
rid
the
of
law
property
doesn't
tax
allow us.
statewide.
The state law doesn't allow us to do it, is what
Right.
he was talking about. So even if we wanted to, which I assure you, this board has no interest in that,
Is this,
we would be prohibited.
is this increase just gonna be taken by the commissioners, or do we get to vote on it?
So we would, if we choose to enact this, for a year, because as Adam said, we have to go before the, at the tax budget time and say how much of the inside millage that we're collecting, so it would be for a year. But it is subject to referendum, meaning the voters could petition and vote to repeal our decision.
So it won't go to a vote at the general public?
No, we would,
It could,
It-
I mean, if the public is outraged and
Right, okay.
if you wanna lead an effort to go put this on the ballot, it's 100% you're right.
Now, this property tax holiday, you're talking about a property tax holiday or a sales tax holiday like they do when school opens?
so what we've done previously is a property tax holiday.
So that doesn't help renters either.
Well,
I mean, do we have no low-income renters in Warren County?
well, that's not necessarily true. The rent is based on the property taxes. So I don't know what individual property owners do with that, but there is, they benefit from it too.
That's all I have.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. I appreciate your feedback. Sir, come on.
Good morning. My name's Carl Kernan. I live at 8468 Sunfish Lane. As other people have said, I very much appreciate this meeting. It gives us an opportunity to speak with you directly, and you did a really good job presenting the information to us. I learned a lot, and so I very much appreciate that. Couple of questions, though. If this is a plan that you think is a good idea going forward, and yet we're losing $5 million of revenue in year one, and I understand you're talking about only a one-year tax. You certainly have had studies done that push this out more than a year that you have not discussed. And if you haven't had studies done, I'm flabbergasted that you haven't. What do those studies say? Do we become revenue neutral at some point in the future if we were to continue with this? So that's one question I have. Another question I have is, and this was not addressed, yes, the folks who come to Kings Island and the folks that come to the Renaissance Festival, the folks that come to the tennis tournament, they all use county services. Does the present sales tax cover that? Are they paying for the services that they use right now? I'm assuming there's been some sort of study done on that. And one of the things I've believed my entire life is you should pay for what you're getting. If I have county services that I want, I should be paying my representative portion for that. So if these county services are already being covered by the existing sales tax, why are we, or even more than covered potentially, why are we asking people who are just visitors here to pay for the things that I want? Why am I not paying for the things that I want? I understand the tax situation, especially as described today, is challenging. You only have two levers you can pull, and that makes it really hard for you to make decisions on that. And I understand that the state's giving you less money, and that creates its own set of challenges as well. But I don't know. I'm tired of this country as a whole asking for people who don't get certain things to pay for certain things. In business, when I traveled, I would look at hotel taxes, which are of course local taxes. In some municipalities you go to, you'd see a hotel tax as high as 22% or something along those lines. And that's essentially, again, saying to people who don't live there, who don't really use the services all that much, you're going to pay a big chunk of that money for it. I just believe we should pay as we go. So, number one, what studies have you done studies that project into the future what this is going to look like? Or is it perpetually going to be losing $5 million a year versus the 32 we're taking in? And number two, what percentage are already these visitors paying for the services that they are using? And we're just going to be asking them to pay more for the services that we want as residents of this county. And I've been here for 20 years. In fact, I love where I live. I think you all do a great job. I plan on living here for as long as I can. Got to get a first floor master bedroom. But, I'm okay with me paying my fair share. And lastly, the only other thing I want to mention is, thank you for bringing up renters, because I was thinking the same thing. For a little while, I lived at the Orchard, renting an apartment there. I don't even know who my landlord was, who owns the Orchard. I'm willing to bet that tax refund that he's going to get, or she's going to get, or they are going to get, if it's an organization, a large organization, none of that's dribbling back to the renters. So the sales tax is already admitted by the auditor is a regressive tax, and a lot of people who don't own homes won't see any benefit from the holiday on the property tax. We're really asking some of the poorest people who live among us to pay more than some of the richest people who live among us. I think that's fundamentally a challenge sometimes that we don't always think about. So those are kind of my questions.
Yeah, on your first question, I think it's a valid point on studies, and with, as the prosecutor just said, by law, we're not allowed to make this permanent, because every year going before the tax commission, we have to intentionally turn down our portion of the inside millage. So we can't just unilaterally say this is the way we're doing it forever, because the law doesn't allow us to do that.
Because if we were to do that, there is nothing to prevent then the county from having this permanent sales tax increase and then collecting the inside millage and having both. So what we're trying to do here is say, it's not because we don't have sort of confidence in the pilot, but what we are trying to say is, for future boards, we want them to be responsible and conservative too, to be able to have the hearings to say, okay, we're gonna raise this and then offset that. You understand?
Yep.
So because we have to come and say, we're not going to collect this inside millage, and at the same time do this, taxpayers are benefiting. If we put this in permanently, and we should say, oh, well, we're gonna start collecting more and more of that inside millage, you're losing sort of the benefit. And so it's not because of a lack of confidence. And the auditor has done projections about what the sales tax is projected to collect over the years. I don't know where that equilibrium is, Matt, if you can, I don't wanna put you on the spot.
No, I know, and a little bit of a joke about studies being done. This is the study group right here, the four of us, but there will be a point that it reaches, and we talked a lot about the sales tax. That brought in 10 million a year. That same sales tax today would be 13 million, right? And so it's growing. To your point, it actually gets better because property taxes aren't going to go up anymore because of the change in laws, where sales tax are, as we continue to increase the people coming to Warren County through the tennis center, through the other projects. So I think very quickly that 27 to 32 is going to become 33 to 32 within 3 or 4 years. So the sales tax will continue to grow with our population and costs, whereas the property tax won't. So that is an advantage to it. I think the point about, people paying their share, I 100% agree with that, except it doesn't work. When you think about what services we're providing, police services, well, most of the people in this room, the police aren't hauling off. The people the police are hauling off don't pay taxes, right? And so in a society,
That's not an accurate assessment of what the police do for me.
Good.
I'm the president of my HOA.
Yeah.
And we have a pool, and we had a problem with trespassers last year, and we asked the police to come in the evening, to come to our area to try and make sure that we didn't have people in our pool who shouldn't have been there after it was closed. I didn't get arrested,
Right.
but I was certainly using the service.
It added value to you, exactly. Like our school, they add value. So it's a little hard to quantify what value our police are adding to people coming in. So we don't have a way to do that, but there's no doubt that the sales
Yeah, I
tax.
certainly don't plan to visit our jail as a, involuntarily.
Right.
But having a jail so that people
That's important.
who commit crimes is a.
And the other thing is, if you do a study of who's in our jail, there's a very high percentage that are not county residents. So that's one of the arguments of why I'm okay with this, of putting it on other people, because we all have to pay for probably 60% of our guests at the jail aren't Warren County residents to begin with. So,
And I totally-
But are they the people who are going to be paying the sales tax? So I go back to one of my earlier questions. What studies have been done to say the people who come to the tennis center, the people who go to the Renaissance Fair, the people who go to Kings Island, how much of our county services are they using? And are they already paying for that with the existing sales tax?
This is not a tax on them. This is a broad-based sales tax. So everybody pays a sales tax if they purchase things here.
Certainly true.
And so it's not, unlike the example you use with like hotel taxes and those sorts of things, those only apply to visitors who are coming and would be staying in that hotel. They're paying some sort of visitor tax. That's not what this is. We're simply saying, in shifting the tax burden from property taxpayers to sales taxpayers, we know that our sales tax is paid, based on studies, 60% of which is paid for people who actually don't live here. Now, we can't tell you, I don't even know how you would figure this out, somebody who comes to Kings Island, through what their de minimis sales tax that they pay to the county, does it fully cover what they're utilizing in the roads and the infrastructure and the police force and those sorts of things? I don't know that, but this is a broad base. We're not putting anything special on visitors. We're just simply noting that the sales tax is paid for, 60% of which for people who don't live here. So that's the difference.
No, I understand your point. I just think we all use services in the aggregate. And as a resident here, I feel like I want to make sure that I'm paying what I should be paying for the services that I want and need. Again, I think our county government's done a fabulous job in the 20 years I've lived here. So no complaint about the services. I think you deliver great services. I really appreciate all that. I just somehow object to the idea of saying to people who are coming to visit us, and as has been stated several times during the meeting, Tourism is our number one industry, and they are already being taxed on everything they purchase here. And then we're gonna ask them to be taxed more, when my guess is that the share of county services that they're actually utilizing is relatively less than the share of county services that I use. While I appreciate the tax holiday, I'm not sure that it's the way I would choose to pay for things.
So
We
it's
gotta-
not a one-to-one either. It's not like the sales tax revenues come in and we only pay certain things out of our
Right.
sales tax. It goes into our general fund, so that is sales tax, which is about a third of our budget. But the largest part of our budget comes from the property taxes. And so then from that revenue pool, do we make, choices about things? And in that budget, 2/3 of that budget, easily, it's probably even creeping up, comes down to the jail, the sheriff patrols, the 911 dispatch, the court system is in public safety. And so, right off the bat, that's where 2/3 or more of our budget goes to, and everybody's got to pay that. So if you come into this community, you wanna know, if you call 911, someone's gonna respond. If you come into this community and you commit a crime, you need to know that we have a place to put you, and that there are courts that are going, and prosecutors that are going to be dealing with the case, and detectives that are gonna be investigating. So it's, 2/3 of our budget, our revenues comes from property taxes, and about 2/3 of that is spent strictly on public safety and not on all the other myriad of things we do. And so, I appreciate your point. I agree. We should pay for the things that, we actually, consume, and the sales tax is a consumption tax. If you consume it, you pay it. If you don't consume it, you don't.
I don't want to take up any more of your time. There may be other
Thank you for
questions.
being
I
here.
appreciate the discussion very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Anyone else wish to discuss it? Okay. Seeing none, we will have another public hearing scheduled for next week. And we will also be kind of taking, we'll have the discussion at our regular Tuesday morning meeting, but we're also going to reconvene that same Tuesday evening at 5:30 if there are people from the community who are working or whatever and would like to come and share their comments too. So with
Well, I
that-
appreciate y'all being here. I mean, honestly, we don't get many public questions that much, and which is probably a function of, like you said, fairly good government, I guess, if people aren't showing up and whatever, that it kind of works. And just even hearing the auditor and going through the numbers, I think we're firing on all cylinders. I mean, stuff is working. And Ray, as you reminded me back to our discussion with the lodgings tax way back when, and you had the same philosophical, and I certainly respect your opinion. I think you owe me a milkshake. I think we bet a milkshake that it was gonna work or something, and we,
I don't remember
I
that.
think.
We've got a record.
Yeah. But anyway, no, we appreciate, because it keeps us sharp of why are we doing what we're doing, and making sure that it, we think it makes sense. Does the general public think it makes sense? But, so we appreciate you coming and having a very respectful discussion, so thank you.
Great. So with that, we're going to turn to our administrative hearing. So we have an administrative hearing that was scheduled at 10 o'clock to consider the 360 restoration Hootable PUD Stage 2 in Turtle Creek Township. So, for the record.
We have one question before the meeting.
I have a question, I'm sure you've already
Yeah, that was decided in our, that was approved in the last meeting.
I have the date here as being the 16th.
Yeah, the last meeting, me this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Is there any way I can still ask a couple of questions, or?
We'll allow you at the end of the meeting if you want to, but the matter has already been decided.
I can just ask a couple of questions, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have somebody available
We'll have
for you.
somebody to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, so while the staff is coming forward, I would like the clerk to please read into the record what documents have been filed in this matter and how and when notice of this hearing was given.
So the application and preliminary site plan were filed with the Regional Planning Commission. The legal notice was posted on the Warren County Commissioner website and Warren County Legal Notice Facebook page on May 19th, 2026. And the legal notices were also mailed to the adjacent property owners on May 19th, 2026.
Great, thank you. So at this time, I would ask that any person who thinks they might testify in this matter to stand if you are able and raise your right hand, and I'll administer the oath to you. Okay, we got a couple of people here then. So do you solemnly swear or affirm under oath to tell the truth? If so, answer by saying I do. Great. Anybody who wishes to testify today or speak today on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. And do you affirm under oath to tell the truth? If so, please say I do. Great, thank you so much.
The only reason we do that, this is a different type of hearing than like the last stuff. This is actually testimony that goes into a public record like a court document.
Okay, so back to our staff.
Very good, thank you. So here before us we have the 360 restoration, PUD Stage 2 in Turtle Creek Township. So going over the general information, property owners is Patrick and Mary Hudipole. Surveyor engineer is Focus Engineering and Design, as mentioned in Turtle Creek Township. The site address is 934 East Turtle Creek Union Road. The area of the PUD overlay is 6.76 acres, and the zoning of the PUD overlay is R1B PUD. So going over the review process, 360 restoration was approved back in November 4th of 2025. We're here before you for their PUD Stage 2 site plan. Here's a vicinity map showing the location of the site. So we're located east of State Route 48 and northwest of Interstate 71. Here's just another aerial showing the county building in relation to the site. So we're south of that. Again, another site aerial showing this is along Turtle Creek Union Road and west of Stubbs Mill Road. Here's the site aerial showing some of the existing conditions on the site. So again, as mentioned, the site in question here is the R1B PUD portion, located in the more southeastern portion of the site. Here are some site photos, just showing kind of what that currently looks like. Again, showing the existing conditions. We'll go through a few of those things here. So there are some existing creeks as highlighted there in blue. There's an existing bus turnaround along Stubbs Mill Road, Turtle Creek Union Road, I'm sorry. There's an existing gravel driveway and some storm culverts to allow the streams to traverse. So as mentioned, the PUD overlay is 6.76 acres. There will be a residential portion of that of 2.09, and the commercial portion highlighted in red is the 4.67 acres. Shown there and highlighted. So again, the commercial portion, which here would be a maximum of 2 lots, and one of those being commercial, one residential. The number of lots are limited by the required road frontage that the parcel has. So here's a look at the proposed site plan. And here's the site plan in context to the surrounding neighbors. So going over some of the information here in regards to building setbacks, it's roughly 310 feet from the northern PUD boundary. It's 177 feet from the southernmost encroachment to the south property line, 70 feet from the eastern property line, and 228 feet from the west property line. So their proposal here is a 6,000 square foot commercial building with a height of 25 feet. And here's a look at the proposed renderings of the building. The dumpster pad is located on the northeastern portion of the site, so it'll be a 10 by 10 dumpster pad with an enclosure with a 6 to 8 foot wall or fence surrounding that. There is a proposed sign, ground mounted sign out located on the southern portion of the site, as well as the one access to Turtle Creek Union Road through the existing bus turnaround. So the asphalt driveway, which is highlighted there in orange, which will be for the commercial use, and then the portion that branches off for the residential is proposed to be gravel. There is an 8 foot sidewalk along the frontage of the building, connecting from the parking lot to the entrance of the building. They're going to have a total of 15 parking spaces, and then 7 of those will be on the north side are 90 degree angle, and 8 are with a 30 degree angle. They will have one stormwater detention pond to accommodate for the parking lot runoff, and that will be directed to the proposed pond. They will have a primary septic area, which is highlighted in blue, as well as a reserve area. It is to be noted that the residential lot will have a completely separate, this will be just for the commercial building. They're proposing to have some open space on site, so approximately 1.85 acres will be preserved, and there will also be trees preserved on that portion highlighted in green. So in regards to the distance of the commercial building to the nearest residential structures, to the east there is approximately 303 feet, and then to the south is approximately 394 feet. There is a current buffer that is existing along the eastern boundary there, and the existing vegetation with a 50-foot landscaping buffer area is proposed. So with that, they are providing 1 evergreen and 1 deciduous tree and 1 shrub per 10 linear feet on the side. So it's a minimum of 50 feet in width with a minimum screen height of 10 feet. And the length of the property there is 1,075, which was required 107 evergreens. So that's what they're proposing here. And then they're also going to be utilizing some of the existing vegetation. We did receive comments from Turtle Creek Township indicating that, shown in the red, they would like to see 4-foot mounds with trees on top. They also wanted them to remove some of the existing vegetation at the roadway, and they also recognize that some of the property owners may have concerns of stormwater management. I won't speak for the applicant, but from our conversations with them, is that they heard the neighbors concerned about drainage and visual impacts of the proposed mounding. The neighbors prefer to retain the mature trees, and the applicant wants to be respectful of the neighboring property owners and wants to take their concerns into consideration. And the applicant ensures that they'll be in compliance with the buffer requirements of buffer type D. So with that, we did receive updated plans from the applicant. So the option number 1 here is to provide in response to Turtle Creek Townships is to provide a 4-foot high berm, which is indicated in green, with a 50-foot wide buffer berm planted with evergreens, with removal of existing trees, and the buffer within the right-of-way. Option number 2, which I'll have the applicant state, was to have no berm, to be a 50-foot wide buffer. They would have the same quantity of evergreen trees, so still at 107. They would preserve as much as the existing trees, and then they would have a 10-foot wide buffer outside of the right-of-way of Turtle Creek Union Road. So here's just a look at kind of the existing conditions. So the mounding or landscaping cannot occur within the clear site distance triangle of the engineer's office, and that's roughly 35 feet back from the center line of Turtle Creek Union Road. Street scape buffer of 8-foot minimum is required, and the maximum slope is based on for berms is 1 to 3. And based on those requirements, in order to accommodate a 8-foot wide buffer, it could possibly accommodate a 2.6 foot high berm along Turtle Creek Union Road. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the PUD Stage 2, subject to the following conditions. Number 1 and 2 are standard. Number 3, prior to PUD stage review by the Board of County Commissioners, an updated site plan submitting that labels the roadway easement from the center line, identifies where shrubs will be planted or already exist to close gaps between trees, labels the areas of existing trees to be preserved, identifies the buffer area along the western property line adjacent to future residential uses that would indicate the existing trees would be preserved, illustrate the design of the dumpster enclosure, mounting in select locations as identified by Turtle Creek Township and the Warren County Zoning Inspector. Number 4, prior to stage 2 review, the applicant submits updated PUD standards that comply with the township's recommendations. Prior to stage 2 review, the elevations for the proposed commercial building shall be submitted. These elevations should illustrate the orientation of the building and any proposed lighting. Dumpster enclosure must be screened from view and opaque wall between 6 feet to 8 feet tall. Buffer type D shall be required adjacent to residential zoning districts in compliance with the zoning code, and the buffer shall be identified and installed prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy. And installation may be identification of the existing trees to be preserved. Number 8, location and sufficiency of the site's primary and secondary septic leach fields as approved by the health district. And the applicant shall work with the Warren County Soil and Water and for any earth disturbing moving activities. So with that, I can answer any questions, and I know the applicant is here if you have any questions for him.
Does the applicant wish to ask staff any cross-examination questions at this time?
I'd like to dive into the mounding, option A or option B. I don't know if right now.
Well, I'll give you a chance to present your case, but I didn't know if you had any questions of staff.
Great job.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Next, I'll ask the applicant to come forward and present your case.
Hi there, I'm Pat Udipole. I live at 2930 McIntyre Road. I own 360 Restoration. We're a small disaster restoration company, and essentially we help people. It could be as small as a water line burst to a devastating house fire. I think we do a pretty good job. I've been operating essentially out of my house where we live now to help more people. This is what is necessary. I started this journey with a humble, hey, let's build a small shop and get things moving. This process has opened my eyes and is pretty extensive. I like to thank you, the commissioners and the county staff and the township for sure helping me through all of this because it's brand new to me. The option A, option B for the mounding, my direct neighbor to the east does not want mounding. What is proposed, my understanding, is mounding with trees on top of that. So if it was a 4-foot berm with trees that can mature up to 15 feet. That's gonna be basically a huge wall. There's significant drainage issues. We can put engineered drainage in there. However, the longevity of that is questionable. It gets clogged, or we have a huge downpour like we had a couple months ago. I'm certainly okay with doing it at the front of the property. But the owner, again, directly to the east, mentioned he does not want it. The front lot, we'll call it, or the front portion of the property is essentially septic and a reserve septic. So what are we truly buffering there, I guess, or mounding, protecting that from? My goal from the beginning, again, was to preserve as much as possible. There's not a topography map on here, but basically it goes from east to west. So his runoff would go into my property. If I were to put mounding there, it's going to back up somehow, leading to possible erosion. The engineering controls would be to drain it into the detention pond or the existing creek, changing a lot of things that have been there for quite a while. So that's my only ask there. That's about it.
So is it your intention, the residential lot, are you gonna be?
Not at all.
You're not?
No, that's a formality, my understanding, that was recommended from me to do, essentially to go from a residential zone property to commercial. I cannot go from a commercial to a residential property. So that's why some of the PUD overlay is different than what is gonna be zoned.
Do you live here?
I live in Morrow right now. We're building a home.
Morrow, did you say?
Morrow, yes ma'am, yeah. So yeah, looking forward to bringing a company to Warren County. My wife owns a successful company on Columbus Avenue, and yeah, we're excited for this project. It has been quite a process, and understand concerns from the township and neighbors, and look forward to addressing this.
So help me understand, so there's lots of commercially zoned property now, and if you're not currently living there, why are you kind of going through this process as opposed to just buying something that's already commercially zoned?
Yeah, fair enough. A lot of it is we would be leasing. I want to own for a variety of reasons. Obviously, I will be where it splits off is where a residential property will be eventually. So being close by is important. We like the area. There's not a whole lot of land in the Lebanon area that is for sale to develop like this. There was possibilities thrown out that I create a quote-unquote farm, an LLC, and fall under the agricultural provision where I can essentially get away with a lot of things. I wanted to do things right, and this is why we kind of came up with this plan with the assistance of Yolo County members.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you for that. I see the township is here, and that you took the oath, so you wanna come on down?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Tammy Fox, Turtle Creek Township, 670 North State Route 123. It was very important for the trustees to have the buffering. That is one of the things that their priorities are for the township as we develop. I think particularly since this was a commercial business put into a residential area. Their preference is mounding with trees on top so that it gives more of a protection to the neighbors, to the east particularly.
And so I'm being told that the neighbors don't want the mounding.
That's what we've been told, but we've not heard from the neighbors themselves to verify that that's factual information, so.
Would that make a difference to the trustees?
I think it would make a difference to the trustees, for sure.
But overall, you don't have a problem with this?
No, they've, you know, they're agreeable to it. They just were particularly concerned about the mounding and protecting the neighbors in the residential neighborhoods.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wish to testify as a proponent? Seeing none. Is there anybody here who wants to testify as an opponent?
I'll start out.
18 East Turtle Creek Union Road. And I have some major concerns. First is safety. And Pat and his wife don't live there yet. And I'm wondering how often they have come to the community. Because going up and down the street early in the morning, there's school buses, and he has 2 young children. And I'm pretty sure he's gonna be concerned. And the houses on that street, I would suggest anybody who's gonna make a decision on commercial stuff in this building, drive up Stubbs Mills Road from the south and turn left onto this street. It's 3/4 of a mile long. There's a blind curve when you try to turn on the street. And having commercial, I get questions for Pat like, what kind of commercial vehicles are gonna be going down that street? What time of the day? How busy is it gonna be? A lot of the residents on our street are getting older. There's gonna be more school kids moving into that neighborhood. And he's gonna be building commercial stuff all the way at the end of the street where there's gonna be a lot of there's no sidewalks. There's gonna be a lot of kids in that neighborhood. So I would suggest to the board to look at the safety of the neighborhood, to have commercial vehicles going up and down through there. So that's my concerns.
Sir, would you like to address this?
Yeah, you wanna go up or
Yes,
stay here?
please.
Okay.
One more thing, I would suggest before he even did anything that he lived there a little bit, you know, and see what's going on, because he really doesn't live there yet. You know, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Pat Hudipole, 360 Restoration. Thank you. I met both of you guys and appreciate bringing up concerns. So yes, it is technically a commercial business. We own 1/4-ton trucks. We own some trailers. We don't own semi-trucks. We don't own anything crazy. I would agree with you that there's a lot of blind hills. I've actually spoke to Irons Fruit Farm about your blind corner on Stubbs Mills because I saw it. I have my kids eventually hopefully drive, and I want that addressed. But that's a fair concern. That is 100% a fair concern. One thing I try to be due diligent about coming to neighbors prior to stage 1 and addressing some things. The vast majority of the neighbors that I spoke to said, thank God it's not a house development, because we're on a split lot. The lot that is to the north of us was also for sale on the same parcel. So developers were looking into that. I would imagine there's probably at least 100 houses that would have gone in there. Based on my research, there's 9 to 10 trips per household that would come in and out that would be on this street if we weren't having a property and a house on there. So there would be a significant amount of traffic. Obviously that didn't happen, but those are fair concerns. Again, we don't plan on having a bunch of commercial traffic. We have a staff. It is by appointment only to our office, and my hope is we don't have many customers coming in. We do a great job of servicing them on site, but we very rarely bring anybody in, just on special occasions, so it will be my crew. The benefit of this property or this plan versus a neighborhood is you could have 100 homes with 300 drivers or 200 drivers. You could have the kid blasting music or going 80 miles an hour on a 25-mile-an-hour residential street. You call the police, they do their job and help, but it may be hard to track down. If I have one of my crew members, you're gonna know who it is, because it's a small residential drive. You're gonna come to me, that's one central person, and we would squash that pretty quickly. So completely understand your concern and hope to address it and get beyond that. So thank you.
Thank you. Brian, did the engineer's office weigh in on this at all?
Yeah, I believe at stage one, we had a condition if it warranted like a traffic impact study or something like that. I don't think they deemed anything was necessary for the
Okay.
proposed use.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you for that. Well, let me just, Brian, I said that was all, but I'm just gonna ask you this again. So this is R1, currently zone R1B?
Correct.
And that, under the current zoning, allows for what?
Ray, help me out. Is it 1 unit per acre?
But the commercial side is already zoned PUD, right?
Yes.
And so as these residents come up, such as the previous speaker, it'd be interesting to know whether he lived within the 500 feet. Did he get notice of the stage 1 PUD that's already been approved?
Yeah.
So this is not about use. This is about the site plan review and its impact of how the site will be developed. The use is already approved.
But I guess what I was, I mean, one of the things I appreciate about the applicant is I take him at his word that he truly wants to put a site plan forward that, you know, balances all of the interests, and he's wanting to work with the, you know, work with the residents the best he's able to. I also appreciate what the township is saying about the mounding, and so it would, you know, I wish I knew from the residents themselves that, or the neighbor that abuts that is his preference. Because I'm hearing from Tammy that it would make a difference to the trustees to hear from them, and while you have a preference about it, I'm seeing two different drawings, so you are saying you would do either one, is that correct?
Yeah, do you mind if I clarify real quick?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So the neighbor directly adjacent to the east is unable to make it. Verbally, he told me he's in support, just for a variety of reasons that it's not my place to say. He can't make it. So he just really is concerned about the drainage and the view of it. I will certainly do it. To me, at this point, with everything going on, the cost of mounding and drainage is not something I'm going to create a fuss about, but it seems like to me, again, it's the wishes of the neighbor, and that my site plan engineer, who could not make it again today, has big concerns. If it was a neutral topography, totally good, because we're not going to have any drainage issues, but it is going from east to west, so that's going to back up. We will have to put engineering controls in there, and what does that long-term maintenance look like, and is it going to ever fail, and what does it look like at that point when it fails? So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, other opponents? Morning, almost afternoon.
My name is Rob Woods. I live at 1046 East Turtle Creek Union Road. I think I might have the closest house to the structure based on some of the maps. So based on your comments, it seems like maybe I missed the boat on when to speak about this. I don't recall getting notification, and I have never talked to the owner. I know you've mentioned he's talked to neighbors. I have never spoke with him. So maybe I'm speaking out of ignorance that this isn't the time to say, I don't think this is the right type of setup for the land in which we live. So I bought a house several years ago on this road, and I never thought it would be possible for a construction company to come and operate headquarters and van truck operations out of such a rural residential area. I own a business, so I can respect Mr. Hudepohl's desire to be living convenient and close to the business. I think most of the residents on our road own a business.
Can you just point, where are you?
Yes, sir. So this is my house right here. And those are the bags of mulch that got laid out there. So that's the yellow, if it looks strange. It's not a commercial zone. That's just bags of mulch that hadn't been opened yet that day when they took the picture. I think most of the residents on our street own a small business. So I respect, and I would love to have my shop, which also is 6,000 square feet, on our site. But that is not what that road is designed for. That is not what the community that it is. If you drive down that road, there are several very steep hills. There are, as the gentleman spoke, there are a lot of elderly neighbors we have. They do a lot of walking in the morning. They do a lot of walking at night. I have a 19-year-old son. I preach to him to drive slow on the road because there's a lot of kids walking, some of those blind hills, and I can't imagine commercial traffic coming in. Dumpster traffic coming in to load and unload a dumpster. If you're going to run stuff out of that building, certainly deliveries are going to come in. So then you're going to bring in, class 6 trucks, 26,000 GVW trucks, things like that, who are going to be going into this very residential, very rural area. Our county government has created a very pro-business environment, and I think that's a good thing. But I think there are a lot of areas outside of where we are right now that are made for commercial areas. There's lots of warehouses, there's production sites, there are business parks that are made for this type of work. I don't think it's the right area for a 25-foot tall, 6,000 square foot building that's going to bring a whole lot of traffic to our neighborhood. So I would request to keep this a rural residential area, though it sounds like I may have missed the bus on the timing for that communication. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, Bruce, can you go back to that? Who approved what?
We did.
So we approved this PUD.
For this use, yes.
Okay.
All of the residents within 500 feet would receive notice by ordinary mail. It was published. That hearing, legislative hearing was conducted. The residents would have had a right of referendum for 30 days, and you approved it.
Sir,
I'm Dave Heusler. I live at 1053 East Turtle Creek, and I also own the farm directly across the street, which is 933. Can't really see it here, but this is my property right here, and right here as well. I also didn't see a notice. I apologize. I don't know. I didn't see it, or I would have been here. I object to the use of this property for the purpose of which he's requesting. My main concern is the traffic. I just don't want to see commercial traffic coming down a dead-end street. It's a residential and still somewhat rural area, and I'd like to see it stay that way. I also have a letter from the neighbor. I believe this is their house here, I think. He couldn't be here. He's having some health concerns. But I talked to them, and I brought a letter with me. Then they are also in total opposition for the applicant to use this property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others to speak in opposition to this site plan? Seeing none, and thank you for showing us where you are on the map. So for the record, does the applicant want to respond to anything additional or submit any additional evidence or witnesses for us to consider?
Yeah, I'd like to speak, that's okay. When I started this process, again, a little ignorant as far as the extents I had to go through. It was recommended to me to be proactive with my neighbors and speak to as many direct neighbors as possible. Sir, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to you. I did go over there, knocked, and didn't have an answer, so I apologize. We could not meet up on that. I have an entrepreneurial spirit, similar to you guys, that obviously have been very successful. In respect to that, if we were at the beginnings of this process and we were at stage one and you guys were sitting here bringing up these concerns, I would certainly rethink things and try to address them. I apologize that either the notices were missed or something along those lines. I am certainly open to the concerns and recommendations. I want to be a good steward and a good neighbor because we're going to live there as well. The two things I would point out is, as you guys probably know, there's an easement that road can essentially go back through again. And then if it was a residential development, I would venture to guess you would have the same amount of commercial vehicles, if not more, servicing those residents. So trash trucks, Amazon, FedEx, landscaping companies. We do not have quote unquote, commercial trucks. They are used commercially, but not a semi truck or a box truck, or we do have trailers, as you guys know. So again, if I could say anything, I want to be a good neighbor and good steward at this point. So again, I appreciate the opportunity. The only thing I have on the site plan per se is the mounding is my only concern. That I would ask to have an opportunity to have you guys choose between option A and option B. Beyond that, I appreciate it.
Stay right there. So at this time, I'd like for you to describe on the record every document that you desire the Board of County Commissioners to rely upon to make its decision, and leave a copy of the document with the board to make it part of the record. So what documents would you like us to rely upon in our deliberations?
Sure. Yeah, everything that I had provided was nicely put into the presentation, so that would be it.
Okay. So I would like for you to answer then the following questions for the record as well. Did the Board of County Commissioners deny you the opportunity to present your positions, arguments, and contentions?
No.
Did the Board of County Commissioners deny you the right to offer and examine witnesses and present evidence and support into the record?
No.
Did the Board of County Commissioners deny you the right to cross-examine witnesses in opposition?
No.
Did the Board of County Commissioners deny you the opportunity to offer evidence to refute evidence or testimony offered by the opposition?
No.
Did the Board of County Commissioners refuse or fail to compel any witnesses' appearance or evidence at your request?
No.
Do you have any objections to the evidence made a part of the record?
No.
Great, thank you. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to close the administrative hearing.
Let's just put on the record that the PowerPoint that Ryan used will be identified as Exhibit ZI for zoning inspector.
ZI
dash PP
dash P.
PowerPoint
Okay,
with today's data.
great. So
Yes, here.
yes, sir.
Thank you. Before this is put to a vote, I just want to point out to everybody here that there are 4 people in close proximity to the business that object to the business. And for various reasons. I have a signed letter, like I said before. He couldn't be here, but he doesn't want this here. He lives right there. I'm right there, and we have 5 residents on a residential street that think this is an inappropriate use. And I just want to point that out. And 2 of us didn't get a letter, or at least we didn't see a letter. I certainly would have been here. I appreciate the amount of work that Mr. Hudapol has put into this. I'm a businessman. I've had to go through similar situations before, and I would have been here had I known. And I just want to point out that there's quite a bit more opposition than meets the eye with this thing.
I certainly appreciate you and all the residents being here. Unfortunately, that's not the issue that's before us. That's
Yeah, I
already been
realize that, yeah.
determined. I do want to make sure, Ray, that those addresses were on the list for notification during the last hearing. And if I'm putting you on the spot, I don't mean to do that.
Yeah, we've got the list here.
Oh, okay. So you're affirming that the addresses were on there?
This, I have Ray Drapp, Warren County Building, I have this morning. Mr. Woods
that within
Yeah,
500?
Yeah, he's on the one, the, yeah, 1053 is. And, yeah, 1053.
I'm probably not on there. I don't live 500 feet, I don't think. My last name is Cole, C-O-L-E. I'm 1118.
If you're not within 500 feet, you would not be on the list. So that's, but we have the list of who meets in there, and they were notified. So unfortunately, the issue that's before us today is the site plan. The use has already been determined. And I do hear that Turtle Creek has some specific requests around the mounding issue, for which I've also heard the applicant is willing to do the mounding, though that is not his preference. And that by hearsay that the resident next door does not want the mounding. And that fact, known to the township, would change the township's perspective on that issue, which I don't necessarily know how to reconcile. But for the purposes at this point for discussion, I'd entertain a motion to close the administrative hearing.
Can I say one more thing? I'm really sorry, we can solve this very easily, I think, with a compromise. And to my mind, if the entrance would not come down Turtle Creek Union Road, the residents on that dead-end street, I don't think would have much of an objection. It can, I believe that could be rerouted so that the entrance to the property is off of Cook Road, which is a through street. And those residents that are here that are objecting, I know I only speak for myself, but I don't think they would have the objection that they have today. It's just a compromise that I thought could solve the problem. I realize there's a lot of work that's put into this, and there would have to be some more work put into that. But it's a compromise that everybody would be happy with, I think. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You asked Ray Dratt if that gentleman was on the original mailer for the rezoning. The list that I have doesn't have that address on it. I think that Crystal may have generated another list that you saw that notified of this hearing. So I don't see, during the rezoning, I have the notification map. I do not see that specific address on this list. So we use two different programs to generate the address. The address or the system that we used at the time was the old GIS. Now there's the new GIS, and the notification, the way it's generated, is a little different. It's supposed to be more accurate, but nonetheless, the sign was posted, and it was put on our website, and so on and so forth.
But the other addresses are on there.
The 933 East Turtle Creek Road, I do not see on the original mailer that the zoning department used for the rezoning hearing.
That's the one.
That's his address, correct?
That's one of my addresses, the other is 1053.
I do not see 1053 on the address list
Is
that
it
I
within
had.
500
Yeah, it's
feet?
right across the street.
Yeah.
I mean, what I have here is the identification and the list. So
That's very concerning, because I mean, this
Yes.
is regulated by state law, that this is how we notify people.
So what you're saying, Ray, is the technology that was used previously brought up those addresses, and now we've updated our software system, and it's brought up additional addresses.
That is the correct response, yes or yes, ma'am. You asked me to verify that their address was on my initial one, and it is not.
Yeah, but we've just never had this problem of people showing up and say, oh, I just never got a letter. I mean, we do these all the time.
We have it quite often. People say that they don't get a notification, but most of the times we just send it regular mail, so they as long as they're on the mailing list, they get notification or they don't. But we
So you're
have.
also required to post. Was there something posted
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the address?
There was a sign, I put the sign there myself. It was there 10 days prior to the hearing at least. We also published it in the, at the time, I think it might have been the newspaper, I'm not certain, or it was on our website, both the county and the building and zoning website.
Let me, correct Commissioner Young's comment. It is not regulated by state law. It is regulated by our zoning code.
Could you speak up, please?
It is not regulated by state law. It is regulated by our zoning code. Our zoning code, this Board of County Commissioners adopting our zoning code, went above and beyond what state law required and required notice to be sent to property owners within 500 feet. The zoning code does adopt what state law says, and it says the failure of delivery of written notice shall not delay or postpone any public hearing and shall not invalidate any action taken at such public hearing. So the fact that someone did not get notice does not invalidate the PUD Stage 1 rezoning that was approved. It is now mapped, and that use is allowed.
So it's basically, it's not a fatal flaw, but it is regulated by law that notifying neighbors, but the point is that we went above and beyond what state law dictates.
Correct.
So we try to expand and notify more neighbors than the law dictates to us, but what our prosecutors is telling us legally, it doesn't matter, that this is not a fatal flaw through this process. I'd like to hear from the applicant one more time. The idea of an alternative entrance for the business, is that plausible or not?
Regretfully, I don't own that portion on Cook Road. So it was one parcel, and then it got split when we bought it. So there's just no feasibility unless I buy a chunk of his land to run a street.
That property isn't adjacent to Cook Road?
No, so if you go north of that, you got another 4 miles before you hit the road.
Where is this in relation to the curve in Cook?
So you go on the curve, and that's where the house, that white house is. That's the owner of that second lot now.
So this is the lot here, Cook Road is up here. Stubbs, Turtle Creek Union.
So it's not, okay, so it's not like,
It is feasible, I certainly do.
But you don't own that. Okay, so, okay.
I mean, my only outstanding issue now relates to the mounding, because we can't necessarily take it as he told you, we need something in writing, right, Bruce? We can't, if the person can't testify, we need some sort of evidentiary something that this is the request of the neighbor, and the township is represented, that affects them also, that's
And we
most
like to
directly
partner
impacted.
with our townships.
Yeah.
I mean, we like to, we appreciate what it is they're having to say.
Yeah, and so,
Continue it in progress, give Mr. Goofball the opportunity to get that resident here to testify, or at least get something in writing, unless someone's objecting to a written statement, that he doesn't want this.
Yeah.
And there's an adverse impact, if the township's request is incorporated as a
Yeah.
condition.
and again, I appreciate, this is like a tough day for us in some ways. We normally, we don't have controversy too often. And this one is kind of again, we get these quite a bit, it's kind of a tough one for me, because I'm pulled in two different directions, literally because we are all about private property owner rights, you know. Boom, you own it, you have it, you control it, period. But there's also an impact to the neighboring properties, and that is a factor. But the paramount thing, even in the US Constitution, is private property owner rights. Oh, if you hate what somebody's doing, we used to always say that, oh, you hate that new development's going in next week, then buy the property. You know, that's a way if you don't want it to happen. But this is a little weird, simply because apparently there was administrative, even though we go above and beyond what the law dictates, we try to inform everybody of the impact. That didn't necessarily happen. But then the conflicting side, we can't have a better applicant than this guy. He wants to live there, and he's got a reasonable business, and he's bent over backwards trying to do it and talk to the neighbors. So that's why it's, I wish we could just have this win-win. We've had several of these throughout the county, and they're not a high utilization. They're not a big impact. I mean, we haven't had problems with these things, but I think, and again, the law, we have to follow, you know, private property owner rights are important, but we also have to follow the law. And the law, we already did this, right, Bruce?
Yes.
And there was no objection, there was no nothing, so this is permitted. So now it's what does it look like? Because now we can't go backwards, because he'll march across the street and take us to court, and probably should, because we approved it. So I'm okay with continuing it in progress, and Rachel told us I'll make a motion to continue it in progress until, oh, no. Okay.
We have availability on Tuesday, June the 30th at 9:30, unless you want to look further out.
So I'm gonna ask the applicant, do you have an objection to, do you understand what we're proposing is to just continue this until June 30th to give you and your neighbor the opportunity to weigh in on this matter, because we are likely to approve the request of the township but we appreciate what it is that you are saying, and the township appreciates what you're saying, they just have no evidence of that.
May I ask, is the only thing in question at this point mounting? Is that?
That's the only issue that I have on
But
this.
legally we can.
Because what we're considering is the site plan, and there haven't been any objections raised to the site plan with the exception of the township. So there is a motion now to continue it until June 30th, did you say, at 9:30 a.m.? I will second that. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Great.
In our last matter, I'd rather have that discussion with all three commissioners present, if that's
Yeah.
all right with you, Madam President.
Yeah, I think everybody will be here on June 30th. So I probably ought to make sure the applicant is okay with that.
Yeah, I think
if he
did, yeah.
reviews.
He did, yeah.
Okay, so, that means that, Commissioner Grossman will review all of the materials, including the recording of this hearing, and then he'll participate in the deliberation. Okay.
I was actually talking about our next agenda item.
Oh.
Waiting for that until all three.
Oh, okay, great, thank you, June 30th, 9:30, thank you all for that. We will not go into executive session, then is there anything else, to come before the board today?
You wanna just meet with her, Martin? Just give her the lowdown.
Oh, yes, so we can do that,
Yeah,
okay, great.
All right, motion to adjourn.
And, yes, great, thank you so much.